There's a disgusting gunk inside of me, and I have to let it out. So it must be time for the Giant Bombcast. Right? That's the weekly intro. That's what we say at the top of every show, right? I've got the poison in me. I have to let it out into the world.
Throat exorcism.
Yeah. Yes. Throat exorcism, 4 hours. It's just get it from the convenience store. They got it right next to all the good trucker stuff. I'm Jeff Gerstmann. This is the Giant Bombcast. Still your home for my good voice, my good like end of a cold voice. Jeff Bacalar, you're looking like this is suspect. You're looking like you're grossed out. I've got the gunk.
You've got the gunk. I'm happy you're 2,800 miles away, perhaps not in the same room as me. Look, I'm not. Look, you know, I've hated germs before it was cool. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So that's what I'm talking about.
Germ hater.
Yeah, I've been washing my hands for decades. Okay.
I just started in the last year or so, and it served me well, but then they said, hey, you don't have to wear the mask anymore. And I'm like, cool, that means I don't have to wash my hands anymore. And now the whole family's sick. Yeah. God damn it. Danny Dwyer, how are you feeling?
I was feeling a little better before you started speaking. No offense. I feel like I'm like
I hear that a lot.
Verge.
It's fine.
I'm going to be on the verge of a cough for this entire thing because I also have, you know, a child that also got me, you know, some of that sickness from somewhere. So, but I've been holding it back. But I feel like I'm just every time you speak, I just want to cough so bad. Not good.
Yeah.
Hand on that mute button today.
Don't have one.
Yeah, no,
so
that's
it's all for
definitely
everyone.
like hit the cough button and go. Jean-Luc of GameSpot fame is here as well. How are things treating you there? Has the illness permeated the airwaves enough? How are you feeling?
Not yet. I'm keeping my doors closed, my windows shut.
Smart.
I've chugged a bunch of vitamins before we started. My allergy pills. I'm holding out. I'm just gonna bunker down until it's good.
We got a vitamin chugger here. Okay. Whoa, where are you pulling
I got all
these
this
from?
NyQuil and melatonin. Let's get fucking crazy.
Whoa, those two things will do something odd, I guess. Did that say severe on the NyQuil bottle?
Yes, it did. It said severe.
Jesus.
I feel like base NyQuil is pretty strong. What does the severe stuff do? Is that like
I don't know.
For a couple of days?
It comes in a syringe.
I took it for the past 2 or 3 nights. Last night was the first night I didn't have to take it to sleep, but I don't know. It didn't actually take effect. It takes a long time for it to take effect, and then like 4 hours in, I'm like, cool, I can sleep now. And then I wake up every hour, and I have had to pee. While I've been sick, I've had to pee so much. I think it's because I'm like drinking like a ton of water and eating chicken soup and all this other stuff. I'm probably like overhydrating or something. It's probably not just like I'm sick, so I pee. But
that's the sickness. Has nothing to do with like the actual urination thing, I don't think, right? It's coming from somewhere.
So.
It's all those good fluids. You're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing, you know?
Yeah.
Your body can't just like produce liquids. There's no sickness where you pee more, right?
Yeah, it's not
where,
like suddenly coming out of you. Yeah.
You can't stop.
I mean, there are probably
your organs.
There are health concerns that probably where you pee more, I'd guess. That's a Dan Reichert question.
Yeah, like. Call that guy up with the pee situation.
Yeah. You know, Mr. Piss. I think that's his name on the internet, right?
That's the new show, isn't it?
That's his all.
Yeah, I think that's what he's pitching. Yeah. So go ahead, Mr. Bacalar.
I just needed to. I have like a bit of a story, and I just wanted to get to it before we start doing the video game stuff. I didn't want to cut off your story, but
Okay.
But here's
No, go ahead.
yeah, you guys are thrilled, but no.
Okay.
So I was away at the beach this weekend, and I know. I'm sorry, Gershman. I was at the beach and I was hanging out. I don't like the beach at all, but I do it to make my family happy. And I'm sitting there, and my kid's like, "Oh, Dad, come throw the ball at the waves." We do this thing: you throw the ball at the waves push the ball back, and you have fun for a half hour doing that.
Sounds like a great way to get someone drowned.
No. The waves push the ball to you. So like you throw the ball into the wave.
And it's like East Coast waves are not like, because every beach around here just has big signs on it that says like, look out for fucking ripper waves. They're going to fucking carry you into the water and rip you in half. And you're like, shit, what? No.
Severe undertow.
Yeah.
Stay out of this water hole.
There was a hurricane off the coast, Elsa, and that was making things a little funky, but nothing really of a lot of concern. So anyway, we're throwing this ball, we're having fun, and then I maybe threw the ball like you can the waves crash in a certain spot, and then like 20 feet further out, it's like it's kind of still, and you're just like it's just sort of calm.
Ocean. Yeah,
I guess that's ocean, right? So I threw the ball to ocean, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, did I overshoot that a little bit? And my kid's looking at me. He's like, "Oh, Dad, you fucked up." I'm like, "Yeah, I think that ball's maybe gone. I think that ball's not coming back." Slowly but surely, a minute passed, drifting further out, and then out of nowhere, like a just a blue blur to my side, goes the lifeguard on duty with his floatable device thing, that little orange mini stretcher that they carry with them, and he's diving in after the ball. And I'm looking around
the darkness, afraid to step into the light. Was he in slow motion?
No, like I said, blue blur, like just completely. I mean, I get the Baywatch thing, but like
you gotta live and learn. Okay, like what kind of blue blur are we talking here? Like
it's not like a Sonic the Hedgehog thing, but he's running, and this dude, like a fish, jumps into the wave, and he's swimming, and he grabs that ball like in a matter of seconds, as if the ball was drowning, as if the ball was the one who needed lives. It was amazing to watch. He comes back, and as he's doing it, I guess I'm a little embarrassed. I'm just like, what is this lunatic doing? He's like the ball. It's a ball. I felt
say
weird
hello to your new dad, son.
I'm just like, wow, that wasn't, my kid looks at me, he goes, "Is that what a man can be?" And I'm just like, I'm like, "Oh no,
play your
dude,
cards
look,
right,
hey."
kid.
I was like, chill, okay? If this was ice, if this shit was frozen, okay, I would have been there lickety split, okay? Don't worry. But yes, when it comes to water, I won't be that guy. He's also 15 years younger than me and freaking carved out of stone, like this amazing man of muscle and steel. And I'm like turning around, and my wife's like, "Oh, that was something." And I'm like, "It sure was something." I didn't know what to say to the guy. I was like,
"We're leaving."
I was like, "Thanks, Mr. Lifeguard. Good thing it wasn't a person, right?
Was it just like training for him? He's just like, man, there's no action out here. People generally don't go out in the water and fuck up. So I just need something to do.
That's how I'm sort of dealing with it, where I felt strange just watching this guy like, "I'll save your ball, idiot." Like it just
Maybe you can justify it as like preventative. Like if a ball out there is just like a carrot on a stick for the next kid, or
like he's probably looking at you and going like, "This fucking guy's gonna die if he goes after that ball."
Yeah. Totally.
I should probably act now before there's a problem.
There was no way on earth I was going after that ball. Like if he got the impression that I was somehow preparing myself to go into the ocean after this ridiculous ball, no, I was not sending out those vibes at all. But hey,
you've painted a picture. You've painted a picture of this ball being like, just disappearing off into the horizon. I bet it was like 30 feet out. Like you could have easily gone.
Oh, it wasn't that far away, but it was beyond. And look, like I don't like going in. I'll go swimming in pools. I don't like going in the ocean. You know, like whale shit. There, I don't want to. Like, I'm not trying to.
That's how people die.
That's like ocean and me. Maybe before I was like before the age of 18, I was all about it. But as soon as I became somewhat of an adult, I'm like, that's gross.
19.
I'm just not going in there anymore. I'm going to avoid that beyond my waist as long as I can.
For me, it was the signs. All the signs on these West Coast beaches, like warning people about like just how bad it is. Like that was the thing that just made me go like, I don't ever want to go in the ocean ever. I'll happily walk along the beach. Love it. Yeah. Love it.
Seems like it'll just
I will ponder my fucking nightmarish existence while staring out into the waves all day long. But man, no, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to go.
I'm with you. I grew up on the water, but it was the Atlantic and where the Gulf Stream is in the south of Ireland, and like it's cold. It's cold like the Pacific, but it's like there's not the like crazy riptide undertow. Like I was down in where were we? Pismo Beach. We were a couple of weeks back with my daughter's like kids like 3 years old, and like I was like 2 foot out, and just that familiar. Oh, the waves come up and then they dry. They're like trying to dry, and if you're like 2 foot tall, like I'm sure kids are totally, you know, they acclimatized to whatever, but it's pretty intimidating, the water out here.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah,
where he is though, it's nothing.
Jersey, exactly. That's what Jersey. What is that? It's just mostly, I mean, you know, like the water is slowed down by all the muck in the trash in the water. So
needles and toxic sewage.
Yeah, toxic sewage and toxic sludge and Springsteen records and
yeah. It's all that. Yeah. It's all fresh mozzarella in the
It's like autographed 8x10s of Kevin Smith, just like, you know, whatever the
yeah.
That's true. DVD copies of Garden State.
Yeah.
No, we do. Zach Braff is not part of the Jersey joke. Okay, I draw the line. That's where I draw the line. We don't own him. No, he does not get to be part of the joke. That movie was not fun for us. Okay?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about Jersey movies, how many times have you been to the convenience store where Clerks was shot?
I mean, now I live pretty close to it, but I've only passed by it maybe twice.
Okay. So you never... Okay, well, I mean, I guess that's a very touristy thing. But...
I mean, people rather go to, well, I think they actually just closed it down too, but in Red Bank, the comic book store that he had down there was a big attraction. But
is the mall rats there? Is that?
I don't know if it's in.
I don't know if they shot that.
I don't know about that mall. I mean, they're all cookie cutter malls that are like they're all cookie cutter. You know, you can't tell the different.
They just built it on a soundstage in New Zealand or something. You know, that's just movie magic.
You know.
Yeah. I went to. Me and some friends from high school decided we were going to go to New York for like a week. And then me and my dirtbag friend decided we were going to go out early and go to Atlantic City.
Oh no, that is not exactly around the corner from New York.
No, but you know, like who cares? Like you know, like whatever. So, but we wanted to get comped at the Noodle Bar like they did in Rounders, and then we did.
Got it.
And then we drove. We rented a car and then decided, okay, time to drive to New York, and then drove to our like near Times Square hotel, which was a dumb fucking idea, driving a car there. But
at least parking was cheap.
Yeah, right.
But Atlantic City seemed bad. But then on the way from point A to point B, we did stop at the convenience store from Clerks, and I got out and leaned on the building, and then someone who lived across the street from it got out of the car, looked over, and just shook their head at us, and I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. Take that, you fuckers.
That sounds right.
And then we drove past John Bon Jovi's house, which was another thrill, honestly.
Yeah, so especially the fact that he just lives in that big cutout guitar. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like this weird, like, you know, the big burning "fuck you, Richie Sambora" lettering on the front lawn was a little much, but I agree, honestly. Anyway, New Jersey. Also, my last New Jersey story potentially,
please,
is we had to stop and get gas in our rental car, and when we started to get out of the car to pump the gas, they were very not prepared to deal with that.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I was like, what are you doing? Wait, what do you do? No, what? No, I can pump the gas. I'm not a child. Like, what the fuck? And then, it was a very strange.
You appreciate it in the winter, but I hear you. I would rather pump my own gas too.
Do you tip a gas pumper, a pump jockey? What do you call them?
Pumpist.
These pumpists.
I feel like every 10 years or so, that conversation bubbles up to the surface again. Not within New Jersey, just more outside of New Jersey. And the common answer for most New Jerseyans is no, unless there's some extracurricular service that's performed, like maybe washing of the windows. Yes, Dan.
He's whacking you off, or he's giving you a dime bag, like something nice.
If you got a Hummer, you give like washing the windows, or some sort of like extra thing. Check
washing
your tire pressure, check your oil. Yeah, the junk.
Cleaning out the pipes.
It's all sex. What happens at gas stations? It's all sex favors. That is not really a thing.
I mean, if you live there, that means you have to do it every time. I always did it. I drive through on the way to New York. Just the turnpike is all I've ever seen of your beautiful state. So
thank you.
Once every 4 months when I was there, I would always tip at the Walt Whitman service station, which is my favorite.
I'm very familiar with it.
Yes, they have all their service stations are named after different icons of American culture, and I always chose Walt Whitman. It was a solid service station. It had some good mix of fast food and Asian food, and the truckers were cool there. It was a good spot.
Some of the country's final Roy Rogers still, I believe, can be found on the I-95 New Jersey section there, which is something to take note of if you care about such things.
Which is great, because that road is just like Mad Max. It's two lanes
for a big part of it,
bumper bashing nonsense.
Just people going 111 in one lane, 26 in the other. Just people, what they do. You're right. The Mad Max thing is pretty accurate, because some of these morons, what they do to their trucks now is just like, I need to elevate this 11 feet in the air and drive on 4-foot tires. I'm just like, okay, you need like a running jump to get into your car there, the guy. Like, anyway.
No, I was just step side. It's my step side.
They trickle out. Hey, what year were you in Atlantic City, by the way? What year was that? I'm sure it was bad, but like there's varying degrees of bad. Like it is now almost the dead
I'm going to
zone.
say like early aughts. I'm going to say it was post 9/11, because we went and saw that when we got to New York. But yeah, we were there. We went out to Coney Island for the 4th of July. So it was probably early. It was probably like 03, 04, 05, somewhere in there. Gotcha.
So there was still sort of like an Atlantic City to kind of see back then. Now
it was a lot of places. It was like a lot. It was like 3 hotels that, like, because like we're pretty close to Las Vegas, so I've been to Las Vegas a lot, and also I work in this industry, so I've been to Las Vegas a lot.
Same,
And the constant refrain we heard from anyone we talked to who asked where we were from, and we said San Francisco or whatever, it was like, oh God, why are you here? Yeah. Why would you live near you live near Reno? You could have gone to fucking Reno. Forget Las Vegas. You could have gone instead of this fucking dump. So this fucking hole in the ground. And yeah, it felt like it was like 2 to 3 casino hotels.
Yeah.
The Taj, and then whatever else was there at the time.
It's probably like Caesars or Tropicana.
A very sad boardwalk that didn't have a lot of people on it. It felt like very ghost town, like, oh, it's fucking bad out here, but that's kind of why we're here, is to just see how bad it was. And then every building surrounding those handful of casinos, there was a new one being built at the time. I forget what it was called, but every building around it was a place that bought gold.
Yeah.
Like with a big "We Buy Gold" sign in the window. And it felt like they were just encroaching on the...
Yeah. Exactly. It is like the most literal demonstration of like what a casino town can do to the people who live there. You know, it is so horrifically transparent about that. It ain't any better now, but yeah, it's that is a rough place. But you're right, like you, as someone who's probably spent 3 months of their life in Las Vegas, it's people going, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Are you lost?
Yeah, we had to explain. It's like, you know, we've been to Las Vegas a lot. We wanted to see what Atlantic City was like. And here we are. It's like the same, but like there's like a depression level in the air that, again, like strips Reno of the fucking title. I thought Reno was like the most depressing place on the fucking planet when it comes to that sort of thing. But damn, Atlantic City has that shit on lock. Yeah. It was a good time. I'm glad we went.
Sure.
And it was filthy in all the ways I had hoped it was. And
you got what you came for.
Yeah, exactly. We signed up for the slot club, and then they comped us to the noodle bar, just like in Rounders, and then we left. It's like, all right, we ate at the noodle bar. We're like, fuck this, let's get out of here before someone fucking kills us. Which, you know,
I wish
like,
I'd gone to Atlantic City. I'm like, I wasted all my time going to Rehoboth Beach. I could have been tossing away my money and getting tossed at the gas station
in that area. Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a good time. You know what else is a good time? Video games.
Oh, he was quick on the draw there. Good man, Jean-Luc.
Yeah, ready. I was ready for this time.
Hovering over. I love it.
Let's talk about these video games. Boomerang X. It's not just my favorite Cool Keith alias. It's a new video game. Have you seen this Boomerang X on PC? It's on PC and Switch. I've been playing it on PC. It is a first-person shooter, except you are shooting a boomerang.
Jan played some on UPF, so we saw it there. Yeah. Seemed interesting. Visually, it's doing a lot. Right?
It's but like for me, there's a mobility to that game that is I can't remember. I forgot the name of it. The tomb raiding game that is not Tomb Raider that Bacalar you played a couple weeks ago. The Devolver put it out that just came out.
Phantom Abyss, right?
Phantom Abyss, there it is. It has the mobility that I wish Phantom Abyss had right out of the gate. Because you get this boomerang, and it's a boomerang. I don't know. You throw it, it comes back, right? That's your weapon.
It's not a glaive. Looks a bit like a glaive.
Looks a bit like a glaive. Looks a lot like a glaive. Now
it's
that you mention it.
Boomer glaive. Yeah.
You can charge it up to throw it further, but it starts layering on additional abilities as you go, such as instead of the boomerang coming back to you, what if you traveled to the boomerang? And so it's this situation where you throw the boomerang across a gigantic chasm and then hit the button and it launches you towards the boomerang with full momentum. So you don't just stop at the boomerang, you keep going. Beautiful. And so you're just like launching yourself up and through the air, and you have all this crazy air control that is so much fun to do. And it gives you like a slow motion ability eventually too. You can kind of like, hey, I can pause in the air and turn and charge up and throw. But it kind of lets you throw, jump. Like you can kind of just jet places. Yeah. And chain it in interesting ways. And then they do things like, you know, I've only played the first, I probably didn't play too much further past where Jan did, if I had to guess. But like you start getting to a point where, you know, you're launching across these chasms, and then there's a very short place for you to land, and then spikes on the wall. So if you just go full momentum, you'll just die. But there's a button to just stop all midair momentum. So you hit the space bar in midair, it just goes, and then you drop. And it's nonsense, but it's so much fun. I just wish what you do from there is, so far at least, it's a lot of just very basic arena battles where it's like there's 6 shadowy beasts here and 3 of them have crowns over them, kill the ones that are highlighted to move on to the next phase. And from there it's just like, okay, well, boom boom boom, and eventually it's like, okay, I need to get up here to hit this guy. This guy is a little protected, so I need to get over here and do this. So it starts to have you use some of that mobility, but it still is like, all right, here's wave 4 of 5 in this arena, and then you're going to move on to the next phase. And I wish it was a little more wild, and I'm hoping, I bet it doesn't. That's my guess, my sad guess. But if it just was more freeform, open world, like traversal, instead of here's a tight arena to fight in and then move to the next thing, like I think it would be awesome. But it is awesome, like the movement and the feeling of how you can really just whip around those areas with that boomerang is kick ass. It's so cool. One of the coolest mechanics I've seen in a long time. Just how well it works and how well the mobility. It's just a ton of fun. As soon as I got the ability to warp to where the boomerang was, I actually just kind of sat in that room for like 5 or 10 minutes, just whipping around doing stuff, and I was like, "This is cool as hell." And hopefully the later game takes better advantage of that, because it's like it is kind of like, now do this in a combat arena, and that part has kind of been a little bit of a letdown so far. But I will spend some more time with it and
developed by Dang.
Yeah. It's like one of their first games. I saw another game under Steam, some other basic, but it's cool. It's it seems like one of these games that they focused in on one thing and did it really, really, really well. And yeah, I'd be interested to see. I saw from what Jan showed, it was kind of the color palette was a bit muted, but as he kept going, like it really started to get crazy. And then there's some screenshots on their website of like, kind of looks almost Xenoclashy. Like it's sort of like wild. Like the enemies too are like really crazy, sort of weird looking.
Yeah. I only kind of scratched the surface of that. You start seeing some bigger, but they just start as like scratchy, shadowy spider creatures and some flying creatures and stuff like that. But it gets more horrific as you go. So that's Boomerang X. Speaking of more horrific, F1 2021 this year. Danny.
Yeah.
So this is the first year for it on the PlayStation 5. This is the first like next gen year for the series, right?
It is, yeah. They've done the proper sort of cross-gen thing where there is a PS5 version and a PS4 version. Obviously, it's on Xbox too, and obviously it is on PC, which is where I play mostly. Dabbled a bit on the PS5 version, runs really well. And the DualSense triggers, obviously, very helpful, which, was the reason I spent a lot of time in the last generation on Xbox, because they had the good racing triggers over there where, if you want to have a little bit of control over throttle, which is really important in simulation racing games, because trying to keep the bike point for traction, so that makes a big difference, which is really good, and the haptics are good. But I've been mostly playing on PC on my race. And yeah, I mean, like top level, it is another sort of incremental Codemasters F1 game. They've been doing them now for, God, I don't know, man, best part of a decade at least, right? Like it's been a while.
Yeah. I mean, this is technically EA, right? You got EA Tracks on there. Who we got? You got Papa Roach. Like who's?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. You would not know, and I wonder how much of the even in terms of like the microtransactions of it, because they've done a bit of that sort of stuff on here, but like it all plays the same, to me at least, what I've seen as the previous games. So we'll have to see. Maybe pricing in certain territories is more in line with EA stuff. I'm not sure. Maybe it won't go drop in sales as much now. It's always hard to tell, but you'd never know, and because they haven't, dude. The last time they produced an F1 game, I think was 1999 or early aughts, maybe.
It's been a long time. Yeah, it was
like F1 Season Challenge or something, I think, was their last series. But it's good. There are sort of a couple of notable changes. They've added in a quite EA-like story mode, like kind of what they have in FIFA or in NBA, I guess, in the 2K series, like a sort of a, here are cutscenes of your video game protagonist. I need to remember this person's name, Aiden Jackson, which is the most video game ass name.
Aiden is that's a very iconic video game name. But how would you rate Aiden Jackson up against actual F1 racers? Does that scan? Do you hear that and go like, yeah, I could see that being an F1 driver?
No, like most F1 drivers, like reading a list of F1 driver names is just like, it's like reading a list of European royalty or something. It's just not nonsense names. I mean, there's like George Russell, which is maybe the most common, like basic name, but then like the other English guy is like Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, like Kimi Räikkönen. We could go on, and Antonio Giovinazzi.
There's like a Mario Andretti.
Yeah, well, he's not so F1.
He's not so F1. All right, okay. No. Who's
Who else
Kyle Petty.
Kyle Busch and George Petty.
Tom Petty.
They do have another fake European in here called Casper Ackman.
Casper. Okay, all right.
Is
he your rival? Is he like your
Vettel?
Paxton Vettel? Is he the guy from Fear? Is he also an F1
Fear.
driver? Yeah, F1 driver.
Sebastian Paxton Vettel. Yeah, you're not. Wow, great. Now, First Encounter, Assault Recon, and F1 are inexorably tied in my brain. Thanks for that.
No, it's always been the same universe. It's they just don't have a lot of explicit ties. But when you watch the races now, you'll see it.
Yeah, I'm sure. God, what's her name? I'm trying really hard. I'm sure.
Alma.
Yeah. Sadako was Ring, right? Ringu.
Yeah.
Anyway, Casper Ackman is your sort of journeyman, veteran teammate in this thing. And basically the way they use the story is a way of setting up scenarios. So instead of having to race for 40 minutes, you go through this career, and I think there's 17 races in it or something, spreads out over the course of 3 years. You start in F2, you have an F1 season, and then the second one, and basically it like sets you up like, oh, here's a race where you're going to come in at like the 40th lap, you just had a puncture, you need to come into the pits and then try and get past Casper or something like that. And then they're like, sometimes when you're racing, it'll actually, you'll get to a certain point, reach your objective, and it'll show a cutscene, and then you'll play after the cutscene. So it's cool. They had like a scenario mode a few years back, and it's basically sort of taking that format but applying a story to it. The story is a little bit hammy, and voice acting. I think the protagonist is the most green, like wide-eyed, young, like almost to a fault character. I'm not sure if they go somewhere with that. Like maybe he has like a big arc in it, but it's fine for their first attempt and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And aside from that, it's the damage model is the real big thing that they've updated. There's a lot more fun specifics with the floor being damaged or side pod, or now when you get before when you got a tire puncture or like you broke the front, like any part of that, it would kind of just like come off or flatten immediately. Now you'll have like scenarios where the tire will like delaminate and start to like go down, and then you'll see it like flopping a bit and decouple. Yeah, the animation's really good. And you have to like nurse it back to the pits. So it's neat. I think, it's always been an incremental series. I think this one feels, to me at least so far, like a bigger jump than the past 3 or 4 years, but it's still, part of the family.
Right. Do they represent Formula E at all in any of this stuff? That feels like the natural, like if you wanted to make a mainstream Formula anything game, it feels like that would be your attempt at being like, it's like Mario Kart. Let's have a good time.
Totally, yeah. They you'd imagine they'd like to, especially because they're trying to push Formula E so much, which of course is the all electronic sort of version of F1. They don't, and the reason they don't, I would imagine, is because they race on different tracks. So they race on city circuits that are made. The whole idea of Formula E is cities sustainability. So they race on like tracks in metropolitan areas. They do have F2, but the reason why they have F2, which is the sort of junior league to F1, is because F2 does race on the same tracks as F1. So
they can get away with just using that stuff. Yeah.
Question. Less about the game, more about the Fs.
Sure.
Do you mean to tell me that one day, is it likely that everything will be Formula E one day?
That's kind of the.
Did I just start a holy war? Yeah.
So in a weird way, all the kids who grew up playing Wipeout are now the generation who are kind of in charge of some of this stuff.
Future than I was.
No, but if you watch like the intro videos to Wipeout, it's just the evolution of Formula One, right? Is that like they I think it was like Fusion or something, right? They literally had that in it.
They show tires at some point, and they're like, nah, fuck tires.
Yeah, they're like, these are F1 cars. Then they get these engines.
It's like here's the history of racing, and then but they continue it forward into like, and now we have hover cars, and because
presumably Wipeout is like, what year is that supposed to be? Like
2097.
2097, yeah, 2097.
Oh shit, that's right in the title. Okay, well, I've overlooked that detail, but nevertheless, so it's going to become. Do you think that we're going to have to go that way, right?
Well, they're two different. So, like F1 itself is obviously they're now hybrid cars. They used to be like V8 engines, like proper, just petrol, normal, not normal road cars, but they were combustion engines. Whereas now they're hybrid, so they do have like kinetic energy systems in it, which harvest energy from brakes, harvest energy from other parts of the car, and then release that battery into the car during the race. So that's eking that way. Formula E on the other side is really funny because we're now in our 6th season, I think, of FE, and at the start. I do a Formula
E sponsors
One
a team. Rich Energy, maybe you've heard of it. He's the guy behind it.
Are you Formula E? I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I know
Mr. Formula E. Thank you.
You're E, Mr. E. I get it. So
Formula E. The Royal Formula E is like years ago in the first season, the car batteries were so bad that they would have to do a pit stop each race where they would jump out of one car the battery was gone and jump into another car that had its battery charged.
Maybe we weren't ready for Formula E just yet.
Totally. So now they're like faster. They hold a charge the whole race. Unless actually there was a race a couple of months back where they had a safety car happen, so they would have had too much battery, so they limited the race control who was in charge said, okay, we're taking off X amount of battery so that you're basically on target. You didn't get extra. But what happened was they fucked it up and everyone ran out of battery before the end of the race. Like,
oh, that's funny. Yep.
Like 80% of the field. Yeah.
Oh man. So, not to just like sidestep into Formula E, but Backlar, have you heard of this stuff where they've got like straight up like fans vote to give racers speed boosts in this thing? It's fucking. No. It is literally like that midpoint between real racing and fucking Wipeout and Mario Kart. Like it's not going to be too much further before someone says like, what if we put like fake guns on it and then you could vote to give a guy a shot with the gun. And then we put smoke pots on the back of the other cars. And then if the gun hits, it makes the smoke come out and then they lose 10% battery. What if we just did that? What if we just did that? They should do that.
It's like, do that. They should do that. It's basically like High Lie meets Formula One, more or less. Like, it's like, let's get crazy. I like it. I mean, it would get me to maybe watch it, but, sure. Why not?
I've seen more Formula E over the last decade than Formula One. That's for sure.
You might not know about the new thing they added in, which is something. It's called. I think it's still called attack mode, but it's basically it's F-Zero. So they have a separate part, like line off the racing line, right? So where you wouldn't normally take if you wanted to have the fastest possible lap.
Got it.
And I think you have to mandatorily do it. Oh god, I think it might be 3 times a race, but it gives you a speed boost. So you basically go off the line. You have to go through this like section, which literally on the like TV version, they do have the arrow. So it's like, so cool. And then when you get out, you have like a speed boost for a certain amount of time, like a couple of laps. You basically get to use more power. And I think that's basically just F-Zero, right? Is you go through like a lane and then
it's like every racing game ever that's not a sim, right? Like
right. So now what the sim racing even mean? If real racing is meaning,
it will evolve, right? Like that's
eventually we get to a point where Speed Racer the film is just what actual racing is, and then we need to go past that. Like it's just like this is very exciting. I would like the further they go in that direction, like the more interested I am in what they're doing, because like honestly, God. Car racing, I just cannot, man. It is just so.
No, I'm right there with you.
I just can't. So make it weird. Fucking Give players, give them baseball bats that are not actually made of hard things, but if they drive past another car and hit it, it makes it lose
road rash?
steel battery, just fucking road rash.
I mean,
have lots of cops with Irish names driving around the circuit that you can smack off.
Exactly. Yeah,
it is cool. I think it is a very cool way to like push that sport forward and make it, much more accessible. Like I am like the fact that I went from having no idea that even existed to instantly being like, that's a really good fucking idea. Like I don't know. That
it's like
intrigued.
I want Formula E, and it seems like they're headed in this direction. But I want Formula E to be like the slam ball to Formula One's NBA.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Yes.
So you need to know then about the other two versions of this, which are, there is Extreme E, which is basically like rally version of this, like electric cars, but they're doing like point-to-point racing. And they just made a new one, which I think it's called E1, which is, it's just Wave Racer. It's just electric speedboats that they're also doing. So this is just a new, and it's the same people. It's the same
tracks,
dude.
Yeah.
If they can make one vehicle that transforms into all three of those things,
we'll get there.
And put it all into one race, then we'll have something.
Yeah.
It's like Crash Team Racing or Banjo or something.
Yeah. Diddy Kong Racing,
right?
But real.
I mean, for me personally, it's like I feel like we are just really missing out on like the power up weapon thing. Like I just feel like that's what it is, right? Like I don't know. I don't want anyone spinning out. I don't want anyone spinning out and colliding into the barrier or anything like that. But like, I don't know, maybe a little obscured vision or
oil. Like
I've got ink on my thing. I gotta wipe it off. Like,
you're right. Like,
the guy who used to run F1, Bernie Ecclestone, had this crazy idea, which years ago people laughed at, but I think would be maybe more popular now because Formula One has changed so much in the past few years. But he had this idea of like turning the sprinklers on, like just wetting the track, because wet races are always brilliant. But he's like, why don't we just like artificially wet the track? And what was it? NASCAR a couple of months ago did a dirt race where they covered one of their ovals. No, yeah, it was an oval on the East Coast, I think, and they covered it in mud. And it was a complete fucking disaster because like it just was sliding down, and like after the first two races, like nobody had any grip, and then after like 5 days, it was just like a trench of mud on the outside.
Wow!
Of it. So it feels like at the moment everyone in motorsports is just trying whatever because
it seems cool though. It seems like it's a fun time for that sport.
It is, yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Why the wet? Is that what is the wet do?
Oh, because like wet races in F1 is amazing because if you don't have, because like these cars stick to the road, not because some part because of the mechanical grip of tires, but mostly it's downforce. So a little bit of loss of traction on the tires has catastrophic effects. So if you're wearing the wrong tires and it starts raining, you're basically just like a skid plate at that stage. Yeah, exactly. So you have to come in, and then the problem is that if it's a little bit damp or it's dry where the cars are all driving because they've made a dry area on the racing line, but if you go off the racing line to overtake, it's still wet, so it creates like way more
interesting
issues and strategies and stuff. Formula One's fun.
I like it.
Yeah. It can be really boring though. You're right.
Yeah,
love it.
As long as fans
it's like baseball.
Get it. Yeah. Baseball's. Oof. Oh boy.
I love baseball. I have not watched a baseball game in full in I don't even know how many 5 years, 7 years, something like that at this point. Just
it's tough.
It's tough.
Even going to one is a little tough.
Yeah, if I was drinking more regularly, then yeah, I would go to baseball games all the time. Instead, I sit at home and play Arcadegeddon. Which was part of Sony's State of Play presentation, and they put this out on PC and on the PlayStation 5. And I picked it up last night because I was like, you know what? I haven't really seen anyone talking about this thing. It looked like it was going to be a battle royale game. I hadn't seen State of Play at that point. I'm just like, I don't know. Let's check this out. It is a 4-player co-op third-person shooter where you're kind of like making your way through stages together, taking on waves of enemies as you go. And you'll occasionally get stopped with like, oh, there are some control points you need to take here before the exit will open up, or hey, there's like 8 targets you need to shoot before the exit will open up, and you get to go forward. And so I went through the tutorial, which kind of sets up a bit of a story about like, there's an evil arcade company and they're putting the indie arcade developers out of business, and we got to strike back with the ultimate game. Oh no, we made our ultimate game, but the man is putting viruses in it. We've got to play the game to get the viruses out. It's kind of whatever. So I completed that tutorial and then said, okay, let's matchmake for a game and see what it is. What is this thing? Now that I've kind of seen it, like, what does it feel like with 4 players? Jumped in. I guess it's worth saying that the game is in early access, so it's not considered finished yet. I'm going to take a drink here. Did you have to spend money for this? Yes, it is $20, I think, is what it was. And then I proceeded to play the game for a little over 2 hours in that one session, wherein we got to like stage 22 or 3 or something, and now me and 3 other random players are on the very top of the leaderboard.
Oh, you're kidding.
Good job.
And all I wanted to do was stop.
Oh no! What's social pressure keeping you there? Or?
Yes, yeah. I didn't want to bail on these 3 other players because I believe I was the host, so I would have ended it for all of them. And we had been playing for a little over an hour, and someone unmuted their mic and just said, like, "I think we're getting close to the top of the leaderboard. I think the top of the leaderboard is like 170 or something like that." So, and we had like 100,000 points at that point, and I'm doing math in my head. I'm like, it's gonna be another fucking 45 minutes. And I was like, well, shit, all right. It was already basically bedtime, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just keep on this. And I just kept getting worse and worse at the game as I went. Just like out of just like God. Also, it's early access, so it does not have that much content in it. So it's like it's a game of like, it's got different biomes and stuff. So you get into a level and be like, oh, this one is like a grassy area. This one is caves. This one is a city, but it's all kind of the same basic enemies. It's like, glitchy, glowing zombie that runs at you. And here's a robot, and here's a robot with a shield, and a handful of others, but really that's kind of it. And you are going through these stages. Basically, every other stage, there's a boss fight at the end. And the first boss fight was against a man in a suit who had a big shield. And then the second boss fight was against a big mech. And I was like, oh, cool. It's got different bosses. Let's see what it is. Every boss fight after that was the same mech again.
Oh, no.
And it's just an empty arena with this mech. The mech poses almost no threat to you. It is, it is not shooting that often. It is not that aggressive. It is, you just shoot it and take it out. It's very easy. And then you move on to the next stage. Between stages, you have the ability you're earning currency. So also at the end of every stage, there's a little shop, and you can buy different weapons. Weapons also drop. There's like 5 different categories of weapons. The game does a pretty bad job of just like at a glance identification of like, is this weapon better than the one I have? Like the arrow, it's got arrows up and down, but there's different classes of weapon and all this other stuff. So going through it for my first time, it was like, man, I have no fucking idea. Like, I think my weapons are good. I'm just going to stick with these because it's not like I'm dying. And you'd also spend currency to raise the difficulty level. So it'll say difficulty 1 at the start. And as you play, it'll automatically go up. You can just say, fuck it, here's some money, raise it to difficulty 2, 3, 4. So by the end, we were like difficulty 24 or something like that.
What else you spend the money on? Is there like a shop for weapons? Is that what it is?
Yeah, you can buy weapons. You can refill your ammo if you need to, but the ammo drops pretty regularly. So do weapons, honestly. So it just didn't, and when you beat that stupid mech, yet again, a bunch of weapons pop out of it. So it's this feeling of just like, I don't really know what I'm spending money on here.
Right. What was the variety like? Because I feel like in the trailer, I was kind of not sure what type of game it was? Because there was a bunch of, there was throwing like balls or something.
Yeah. Okay. So the other station at this, it's basically like a little oasis between levels, and that's where there's a shop, and then you can raise the difficulty. And there's another station that says like battle mode. So if you're in a 4-player match, you can go activate that terminal, and it will just warp you away to be like, let's play a 2v2 deathmatch with disc guns, or
right.
Like a Fall Guys style, like, hey, we're on top of these blocks, and the last player standing as they shoot their way down through the blocks wins. But we did 2 of those, and then no one activated one ever again, I think, because it just was a distraction. Like, you're getting some resource out of it, I think, but nothing, you didn't need it. So it felt like it was just making it take even longer. So we did 2 of them and then never touched it again, and just kind of kept going. But it's in early access. It just feels like there's just like not enough content in it, because like I said, that same boss fight, there were basically 3 or 4 different areas, and when you're getting through stage 24, 25, whatever it is, you're seeing those areas over and over and over again. And the objectives are also very repetitive. It was a pretty rough experience, I would say. It was definitely like a case of like, wow, I saw everything there was to see on my first playthrough. I'm now at the top of the leaderboards, and there's a bunch of other challenges and things I can go activate and go play again. Because like there's a home base with like characters that'll be like, hey, go finish stage 2. Or hey, go use your ability 10 times, or whatever these side missions are. You can only carry a limited number of those at once. So it wasn't like I was ticking off a zillion of them on this like epic fucking session. So it's this problem of like, there's theoretically a lot more to do that I could use to get more experience points or whatever. But I saw everything that game seems to have to offer in that 1 2-hour session, and now I have 21,000 tickets, which are used to unlock cosmetics for your character. So I can go to the shop and buy new hair and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And like the players I matched up with were significantly higher level than I was, so that and they were aware of things like the leaderboards. They'd been playing it a bit compared to me. But
I'm surprised you made it that far.
Not a very difficult game.
No, but I'm saying like you stuck with it. Like you kept doing.
Hey,
the
he
thing.
did spend $20.
Yeah, no,
also,
sure.
Yeah.
Hey, get that money.
But I did. But I got to a point where I was like, I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to be a dick. These guys are excited about getting to the top of the leaderboard. Some small part of me was just like, well, if we can get to the top of the leaderboard, I guess that would be funny. My first time playing, why not? And then it got to be about 12:30, and I'm like, fuck, this sucks. So I have to fucking go to sleep. I feel sick. I have to fucking podcast tomorrow. This is stupid. So what I did is I just started running, and I think I broke the game. So there, the game will trigger, like as you get into a new area, it'll trigger the thing of like, hey, we're triggering the control points that you need to stand in to move on to the next area. And if you try to go forward, there's a big, shield up that prevents you from running forward. I just hauled ass into the next section and kept going. If you get too far ahead, it's supposed to warp the other players forward. I don't know what happened, but I just hauled ass past all these enemies to the next section as far as I could go up to the wall. And then when I looked at the player map, 2 players had disconnected.
Oh,
like it had dropped them from the game, like something had desynced or something. And there was one other player, he was running up towards me, and then the objective never triggered. So we were just in this empty area with nothing to do. And then I jumped off the level. Like he unmuted, and I didn't talk at all because the baby was sleeping and I didn't want to make a bunch of noise. And he said, like, I think we're just fucked. And then I jumped off the side, and when I respawned, that caused the event to trigger. And he's like, oh wait. And I was like, shit, God, I thought we were gonna get out of it.
That was your app. Yeah.
But the 2 of us against that level of difficulty was significantly harder, so we didn't make it much further than that. And so
you're like, finally, this is really difficult.
Oh, I can't. Oh no, I missed my shot with the fireball. Oh no. And got out of it that way, and I was like, oh, thank God. Yeah, I don't know. There's a little inkling of something to it, but it just needs. I feel like I had the worst possible introduction to that game of like having this like really good session with it, because there's just not enough content to support a session that long. Yeah. And it definitely, like, I am now 1,000% burned out on everything that game has to offer until they add it like 3 times as much content at a minimum or something. There's just not enough there. So that's my take on it. Is I would probably wait. There's potentially a decent co-op shooter there, but there's just not enough content to it, and it just needs more stuff and more variety. Because there's just not enough.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. At the outset, I was like, oh, this has kind of a look to it. It's definitely trying to do the. Well, I don't know. This is maybe giving it a little too much credit. Like it has that kind of Knockout City, like, look at us, young fashion type of vibe to it, where it's trying to do that. I don't think it's necessarily nailing that to a, it ain't Splatoon, which I think does a great job at that kind of style. But yeah, exactly what it is. So yeah, that's Arcadegeddon. I would not recommend it at this time, but maybe it'll get there.
Fair. It's fair.
Another thing I would also not recommend.
Oh no! Did you pick one up?
Is this it? Are we
here? So
yeah,
as I was in the process of getting sick, or shortly before I got sick, I went and acquired the Atari VCS, which is Atari's new game platform. I guess I would call it. It's a computer.
Not a hotel. Okay.
Not a hotel. I don't think it's mining crypto.
As far as you know.
As far as I know, I don't know. It's the light on it is blinking because I left it in standby mode. So who knows what it's doing?
Crypto mode.
Yeah, crypto mode.
Yeah.
It's gosh, what are they? They did an Indiegogo for this. Is that they did a crowdfund for this at one point, and those backers I think started getting it about 6 months ago, and it really started hitting retail about a month ago. And there's been a woeful amount of marketing, I would say, pointing to, hey, this thing is out now. I didn't start seeing anything about it being out until a couple of days before I pre-ordered one. I didn't pre-order one. It had to be shipped to the store. And yeah, so it's, I don't know, man. So they pack a couple of controllers in the box. I'm holding up the classic controller, which they have tried to make look like the original Atari 2600 joystick.
It has a swivel thing. You said it swivels or something?
So yeah, it spins like a paddle also. So in theory, if you wanted to play Breakout with this, you could spin it here, and then you've got an additional back button down on the side. And the red lights light up when you push in a direction.
All right.
It feels like absolute crap.
Oh no.
The spinner on it feels very like lightweight. The spinner feels like I'm breaking it as I spin it. It feels like it's gonna I'm gonna unscrew it and it's gonna pop off on my hand. And it's the modern controller, which is meant to just approximate the the Xbox 360 standard controller.
Oh yeah.
Feels like a really crappy third-party budget ass controller of this type. It's not a great. You can kind of it just supports Bluetooth. You could hook up a better controller if you wanted to.
But you get both by default, do you?
Yes,
both?
They both come. There's a $400 package that came with the.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Yeah, so that's the we're not talking about so it's and from a power perspective it feels, and I'm not like a specs junkie here, but it's got an AMD sort of thing, and it can function as a PC if you want it to. It's I feel like I got better performance out of like an NVIDIA Shield, like not the tablet, but like when they, the ones that hook up to a TV, like that sort of thing.
Right.
In terms of just like more performative menus and all that sort of stuff. Like I would take an Apple TV over this.
Wow.
Even for games, I would probably take an Apple TV. Yeah. Every bit of it feels slow. The load times are wildly long. So God, okay. I'm where to start with this thing. So
yeah, it sounds like a lot to unpack.
On first boot, I had to boot it up. It was connected up to my network via Ethernet, so I don't have to do any network setup of a sort. But basically, it had to apply updates, and it applied updates for the first 4 times it booted. After the first one, it had me create an account, and then when it restarted after that, the account was gone. It was created, but it wasn't saved on the system, so I had to enter all that information again.
Right.
And then it stuck after that. It had to update. It had to download a BIOS updater, and then it rebooted to basically a PC-looking BIOS-ass fucking flashing screen. And because it's a goddamn PC under the hood.
Sure.
And then it comes with Atari VCS Vault Volume 1, which is Code Mystics developed. Code Mystics has developed a lot of Atari emulated compilations over the years, and this is a smattering of like not particularly well emulated vector games like Major Havoc, and I believe Tempest is in that, and then a bunch of Atari 2600 games like Yar's Revenge, and that sort of stuff. And those are the games you get with it. The games they show on the back of the box for this thing are all from that collection. And so it's like they're trying to be like, it's a modern classic reimagined. Anyway, here's a picture of Adventure 2 for the 5200. And you're like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what? Like,
this thing costs $400, remember?
That is
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, $400. That's the right reaction.
$50 more dollars than a Xbox Series S? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
More
yeah.
than an OLED
But
Switch.
you get 2 controllers.
oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
So what
This
else does
is-
it do? Like, what's the
Yeah, like,
so it has
you know, value?
it has a web browser called Chrome installed on it. It has a storefront, so you can. I went and bought a game. I believe it is called Gunship.
Sure.
I'm gonna just search that really quick. I want to make sure.
It's the Gunship 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is not
Like,
called
what is-
Gunship.
what
Now
the
I need
hell
to
is
know.
the OS like? Like, what does it resemble? What does it look
Ubuntu,
like?
isn't it?
Like, what?
Yeah, well, no. Well, so it's just these big rectangles. So they've used the Atari 2600 box font in every place that they could fit it. So it's like
Okay.
it's a picture of a ship, and then below it in that font is the name of the game, and then it's just it's this big set of rectangles, most of which are empty because I only have like 4 things installed on it.
Right.
And then in one of those, and then it has a top line where you can go update the firmware on the controllers and change the display settings, which is another amazing.
Wow.
So it defaults to 1080p, and in the display settings, it has the ability to set it to 4K. And so
I can play my Atari games in 4K. My vector-based cool.
unless you want a smooth frame rate,
You're kidding.
in which case I would recommend sticking to 1080.
Okay.
The menus
Okay.
drag more. This
Oh,
mythical
boy.
gunship game that I can't remember the name of, but I'm trying to boot this thing up now to tell you.
There was a game called
Um,
Gunship, so it might be Gunship.
It
was a mic. Oh no, that was a Microprose. That was like a
it's not Gunship.
Yeah.
There's a game called Tail Gunner, which is also on itch. But I was looking for games that I couldn't find on other platforms, and so this was one of the 2
Right.
that I found. Sorry, I just got to turn this thing on real quick.
Sometimes there's a reason when you can't find a game on another console.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna have to have this thing fight the Intellivision and sort of see which one can be the worst.
I mean, I might take an Ouya at this point.
Oh damn!
This thing
But,
made $3 million in crowdfunding as well, so it did well.
Yeah, it is. I
took
mean,
their
I will
money.
say that the hardware of the unit itself, I think, looks nice. It's got a fairly loud fan in it. Gun Tech
Okay.
is the name of the game. Gun
What?
Tech, all one word.
TEK or TECH?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's a you boost around and shoot asteroids and pick up coins, and it's like it feels like it would have been a shareware PC game. It's $20 on, I believe it's 20, it might have been $14.99, but it was too much money on the Atari storefront here. And it's so that's not a great game, but if you have this thing set to 4K, it runs at like seconds per frame instead of frames per second. Like there's no
Oh, Jesus.
There's no consideration for like, hey, we know that this game only runs at 1080, so we're going to make some adjustments here, or whatever it is. You know, there was nothing in place to say, like, it defaulted to 1080, and I was like, okay, well, let's you know, I have a 4K TV, so let's set it to that. I mean, the box says like play games and stream in 4K. I'm like, okay, I mean, set it to 4. I've got a 4K TV. I should set it to 4K. It made that Gun Tech game load for, I want to say, close to a minute before it finally launched, and then once it got there, it was just like and setting it back to 1080 fixed that problem.
That's
they don't even give you all of the Atari games, so they are selling for $5 Atari VCS Vault Volume 2.
$5.
So like for
What we got?
they can't even be bothered to give you the full collection. And
dude,
gotta
squeeze that stone, man. Squeeze the last blood out of Atari. What's in Volume 2? Any hot bangers in there?
Let's see if it even
2.
says. Yeah, no, these are all going to be arcade games. So this is Tempest, Asteroids, Lunar Lander. That's what is that? Space Duel, Black Widow.
Yeah, we got. You need to at some point stream something where it's like, this is unbelievable. I like imagine you boot this up and you're like, you know what, $5 for the second volume? Yeah, I feel like that'll really round out the experience.
Right, $405. This is a hell of a deal, but
like that $5 extra bucks. You know, I didn't think it was going to make a difference, but here we are. You know? Yeah.
So you know, a lot of the games here are going to be available other places. I'm going to pronounce it. Is it Mutazione? It's been on PC for a while. It's like an adventure. It's an adventure game.
Don't know.
Been out for a bit.
From Italy.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. Super Mash, which was the game about running a game store. It has like a multi-genre. It was an Epic exclusive for a little while. It's not very good. That's on here for $20. Missile Command Recharge, which is that mobile version of Missile Command,
right? Where
the kind of the one part about it that I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, is that it was a touchscreen game. Now you can play it on a TV. It's $4. I've not paid that price yet, but maybe I will.
But a lot of these are games that you can get somewhere else. It sounds like as well.
Yes, Jetboard Joust, Degeneration, like games that have showed up on Steam, games that have been on other platforms. There are a small handful of games that appear to have debuted or are only available on the VCS. And it's just a bizarre. It just looking at it like looking at this, I'm like, I'm glad I own this because no one's going to, and it's such a bizarre device. And also there's just an icon on the menu that says PC mode, and when you hit it, it just pops up and says like, hey, plug in a USB stick with a bootable OS on it, and you can reboot into whatever.
I'll just be a monitor vessel for you.
Yeah, so like you could put just straight up, Ubuntu on here, and you probably could install like Linux Steam on here of some variety and see how it does that way, which I am lightly interested in, but I don't know, man.
But you don't have to spend $400 to do that. You know what I mean? You can get it.
Yeah,
exactly.
How did you? Yeah, who's the person that found themselves in that situation, like going about it this way?
Well, they know what they're doing, probably, right? They know that like kids aren't going to buy this thing. It's only people who have like a fondness for the brand and.
It's like people who don't play modern games or use modern devices, so they don't know any better, but they still have some fondness for the Atari. Like, does that person exist? I don't know.
They don't want to have to jump through all the hoops you have to do to emulate stuff. Maybe that's a barrier to some people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
like the same way remember those Mega Drives that or Genesis that like hooked up to the TV and they had that like baked in 20 games, like the Super Nintendo one, right? It's like that, where people just don't want to deal with it.
$400.
$400, and they apparently have to like have it like update itself 4 times when you plug it in. So
there's a Plex client for it as well. There's some apps. There's Apple TV. and Twitch and stuff like that. I downloaded the Plex client, and it appears, I'm just guessing here, the Plex app appears to be 6K installed, not even a megabyte. So I'm pretty sure it's just running because Plex can run out of a web browser.
Yeah, so it's just
as a
linking
client,
you to the web
and
version.
so I'm pretty sure it's just like it's just a text file that says plex.tv/app.
Nice.
And it's just launching you to that. It is, and I have seen Plex running on a wide variety of devices over the years.
Sure.
It is the worst, most ill-performing Plex client I think I have ever seen.
You just gotta run it in 1080, man. You just gotta.
I will go pull my
480.
D-Link boxy box out of the garage and hack that to run a slightly better version. It's
unbelievable.
it was like transcoding everything. Like this thing has some power on it. It is $400 damn. But it seemed like it just was like it was not handling any like modern codec. It just seemed like it was trying to transcode a lot of stuff that other cheaper devices do not. And I'm pretty blown away by just top to bottom, like the performance out of this thing. I wasn't going in with super high expectations, but like, damn, this thing it's brutal. Also, when I went to go download Gun Tech, which is 3.4 gigabytes, it took about 4 hours to download 3 gigs.
It's on PSN then, was it?
Yeah, they must be hosting their stuff over there.
So
I just like it feels like something that like someone like did as a like, oh, I don't know, we could crowdfund this thing and probably like get somewhere with it, and then they're like, wait, we haven't actually make something. Oh wait, shit. Okay,
come on, Jeff. This is the Atari brand we're talking about here. Nobody would dare.
Come on.
Yeah, if I could read 24 pages of lore about it, maybe I would feel a little bit better.
That actually would improve things. That is wild. I cannot believe this is a thing that was allowed to be sent out to stores. But I guess there are no rules.
Yeah, and it's not at every store. It's Best Buy has it. I think Walmart might have or had an exclusive color or something. I don't.
Who conned Best Buy into selling this thing like that?
Well, they're not. It didn't seem like they were selling it. So when I ordered it, I had to wait like 3 days before it to ship to the store. So it seems like that they are just like throwing these things in a warehouse and be like, hey, if any idiots order one of these, we'll ship it
sounds
out.
like it's built to order.
We're not going to ship it directly to them. They're going to have to come to the store to pick it up and potentially catch a cold while they're there. So,
oh man, was that the one time you left the house last week?
$400 cold. Ugh.
And now
it is not
sick.
on Amazon or anything, which
No, it's not. It's like I said, they are selling them directly from their website. I think they have Best Buy, and at one point they had Walmart for like a gold colored one, but I don't know if that actually that actually happened.
Have you gone and sort of like, presumably like you said, all the backers who supported this thing? I wonder, like, I'm sure they are all very mad, but has anyone tried to rationalize it to the point of like, hey, this thing's great once you like really figure out to not use it?
Absolutely, right? There must be.
All
of them are.
Like, that's what I need
there has
now.
to be some kind of like community of people who are like fully on board, going like, no, this is a sick device, man. It's
that is the best.
I can reboot into PC mode and do computer things. I can reboot into game mode and play Gun Tech, and
it supports 4K.
No.
Okay, let's
shit.
Not even the Xbox supports 4K natively.
All right, here's
no
the
upscaling.
I need that forum. I need it.
It's
what's
Reddit
the subreddit,
and it is just Atari VCS, all one word.
Atari
lead post is
bastards.
I'm about to give up. Any suggestions?
Oh no,
yes.
it's happened already.
Yes. 400 replies.
Okay. So this person is upgrading. So one of the other things they tout on the box is like, you can put more RAM in this if you want. You can put another bigger hard drive in it.
I'm gonna quadruple the RAM and see if that works.
That is literally, this person put 32 gigs of RAM in and a 500 gigabyte SSD. I have Windows 10 running in a 120 gig and 128 gig flash drive. Unfortunately, my VCS has turned out to be a buggy piece of crap, and I'm looking for suggestions. I bought it to use as a mini PC. It really has little more value than a paperweight. Like, yeah, if you wanted a mini PC, buy a fucking mini PC.
Buy 4 of them.
Yeah, like what? A famous YouTuber who just reviewed the VCS just confirmed his VCS died.
This is a very upsetting subreddit. Like,
VCS owners ask developers to bring their games to the VCS. Like, yes, that's unleash these 2,000 people onto developers to say, please port your games over here.
This is.
There's a great post here. This thing is a piece of trash, which was posted 12 days ago by Fuck God 420.
Oh, you found my alt.
This stuff is great. I love it.
So and there were people saying like, hey, have any games been added since launch? Or I mean, like, I like the idea of like, hey, here's a hackable. Hackable. I mean, here's a device that you can bust open and install other OSs on, and like all this for like the right price point and the right power point and all that sort of stuff. Like, there's something potentially cool there, but like,
for $400, no,
not at all. And the out of the box experience is so miserable, and the game selection is troubling at best. And like, one of their lead things is like, we've installed AntStream Arcade. You know that streaming service that lets you play other games? What if you did that? And
desperate times, man.
Yeah, totally. Like, this thing, it feels like it had a troubled path to market to begin with. There's just a lot of bumps and stuff along the way. But
is there any like consumer facing extension where they're like, hey, expect big things in the next update?
I don't know. The only outreach I got about this was when they were getting ready to come out. I got a press release. I got an email saying like, if you're interested in reviewing it, click this button. And I clicked the button, and it was a bunch of questions like, would you be interested in reviewing the PC mode? Yes or no? Like, they were trying to ascertain like, what level of depth are you going to devote to covering this? And now it makes me wonder, like, did anyone who said, yes, I'm curious about PC mode, they go, do not send them one. Like, I don't know. But I filled out that form and never heard back. And so I was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to buy one. I want to know. The people need to know.
Because I remember something similar. I want to say they were at some show. And they showed up at
GDC a little bit here and there. They were doing, this was years ago now when there was still events, but they brought it to a GDC and showed it off to some media there. Here's a screenshot on this Reddit of someone running Windows 11 on a VCS, which
there's an achievement.
Yeah, congratulations.
Good job.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, there's like there's some potential idea that I see, like, where you might be coming from when we try to do this, but like, I don't know. Like, oh man, okay, someone in chat just linked to they posted this yesterday, the Atari VCS Twitter account, and they've got a picture. This picture is fucking incredible. With Google Chrome on the Atari VCS, checking emails, joining a video conference, and shopping online is simple as can be. And they've got a picture of one of these things with a USB stick sticking out of it on someone's fucking desk with a mouse and keyboard, like they're using it like an actual computer. Which you could do that. Yeah, you could.
What? You got a phone?
You could do that. I mean, you could.
Who on the earth is doing that?
The person who took this photo, and that's probably about it.
I've chosen to go the Atari VCS workplace setup.
Yeah, we've decided to we're recalling all these MacBooks and all these stupid computers. We're just giving everyone a VCS, and edit video on it. Just do whatever you need to do.
Seems like the right move.
Yeah.
Man. Man,
apparently, they're still selling speaker hats as well. Great speaker hats.
Back on board.
Yeah. It's, those if you like those Atari games and want to buy them on another platform, those Code Mystics developed compilations have appeared on like PS4 and a lot of other places. And also, I don't think they're especially well done packages. They're okay, but those games have been emulated, I think, cleaner and better elsewhere. It's just a freaking bizarre device. And again, $400 for this thing. I don't understand how how anyone would get this and feel like they've got proper value out of it. It just feels so. It just performance wise, it is so rotten out of the box. I can there's a part of me that was like, oh well, maybe I will go through that rabbit hole of like installing another OS on it and getting Steam up and running on it and seeing what it could do with a better game store. And then I was like, I don't like. It's so shitty running this way. Like doing like what games am I able to run on it really? Because they were saying like, oh, you can run Fortnite and do all this other stuff, but like how well is it going to run any of that stuff? Like, yeah, it probably could run Fortnite. I don't doubt that. That's probably technically accurate, but
man, the poor kid is going to get this for Christmas.
Oh,
that's not going to happen, right? That doesn't happen. Like no one, you're going out of your way to hear about this thing until it shows up on like QVC for like
$40.
That's what happens. Your dad is like, I remember my first Atari. I'll get one for little.
And then the circle is complete, right? Like that is the ultimate end game. Is like this glimmer of brand recognition where it's at wholesale liquidation prices. Like finally,
that would be.
That
would be a great time to get one of these. I think if you could find one of these for under $100, like it might be just a fun. It's a nice looking box. Even if you were to just gut it and put a Mister in it or something, that might be cool. Though it's a little big for that. It's I don't think people should buy one. Just in conclusion, if that's not apparent, I maybe would say take a pass on the Atari VCS. It doesn't seem like it's a good value. There's still some more games I will probably pick up and try. Maybe I will. So I have to get my HDMI stripper because also it just spits out HDCP all day long. So I could not readily capture it without going and doing that. So maybe I will do that. If people want to see some gun tech on UPF this week, perhaps I will bring some gun tech.
Please and thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, I need to see all the shit in this shit. I need to. Please.
And Jean-Luc, you played some Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. What do you think of the Plus?
Plus is good. Did you guys play Doki Doki Literature Club, the original? No,
I started to, and
shaking. No?
Yeah, I started to, and
you're on your own, buddy.
I wasn't necessarily like pushed off by it, but it was something that I was just a matter of time. I was just like, I'm not gonna.
Okay, that's what I expected. This isn't gonna change your mind. I mean, it basically is a console version of the game. And then they also added some new. There's a PC version as well, and they've added like some new stories that you can do that sort of like explain some of the backstory of the characters. But I guess I don't want to spoil it for people listening who haven't somehow know what that game kind of turns into. But the like weird direction that game does go into, that stuff isn't really in the side stuff that they've added. It's more genuine, like. You actually like these characters and you want to kind of know their backstories and histories and like how they met and how like Monica started the literature club. It's it's very well written and I'm enjoying it because I like played that game and I did like kind of get attached to those characters and stuff. But like if that isn't the part of that game that was interesting to you, there's not really much there. I think the most interesting part about it is that the original version of that game on PC, you had to the best part is when you would like quit out of the game and you go into those games files and you could interact with that stuff. So Over time, they would like add new files in that have like hidden messages and all this stuff that you could read. So they actually created like a fake desktop that you can like, so when you're on the menu, you like quit out of Doki Doki, and then you go to this like fake desktop, and has like your email, and it has you can open up the files, and it's really cool because it looks exactly like the file structure. Like they'll have like, you'll click in and it'll be like internal files 0001, like, and you just click in and half of them like are blank, like actual files are. So it's like they really went all out to try and like make it feel authentic to that.
That's neat.
But
That's cool.
yeah, it's cool. I appreciate the effort, but I would also say if you've never experienced it, it's like, I think part of the charm was like naturally discovering and like actually interacting with the real PC files, because it gave it like this weird, almost like cryptid quality to it, where you're like, what is going on with this game? Like, is it haunted? Is this game like, what is it turning into? So when it's like a fake desktop, you're like, oh, okay, like I get what they're doing. So I appreciate it, but I would almost recommend you play the original if you've never played it before and want to like experience that part of it. But otherwise, I mean, it's more Doki Doki Literature Club. Cool.
I mean, it's cool. It's cool that they found a way to bring that to consoles and at least try to keep some element of that stuff intact. Like, that's probably a relatively hard problem to solve. But yeah, like getting out and ripping through files yourselves is actually kind of awesome.
It's a little bummer you can't you can't delete any of them or anything, like because in the PC version you could just straight up like delete files, and you could actually like break the game like they would you could like reveal some things early if you like delete certain things, but you can't seem to do that on this one. Like I tried to what happens if I just delete this file, and it gives me like an error and it says like you don't have permission to do that, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of a bummer that you can't just like break it or whatever, like but yeah, it's neat. I'm glad they made it. I think like people who it's also like I just kind of felt like I wanted to support it because that original game was free.
I think it still is.
Yeah, it was free, and then I think you could like pay $5 for like the soundtrack, and that was sort of your like tip jar equivalent. And this is like $15, which I think is a fair price. So I kind of just felt like, I don't know, I really like this game. I wanted to support it, so it's a good way to do that, and I am glad that more people get a chance to experience that weird ass game. Even if I do think the original version is like a little superior.
Cool. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for games. That was maybe a lot there. Let me take a break. We'll come back. We'll get into some news right after this.
All right.
Mental health, am I right? You know what I mean? Your brain stuff, how's it going up there? Is it going good, or are you struggling? It's okay. Look, it's okay if you're struggling. There are a lot of people out there struggling. You aren't feeling like your normal self. You might check out therapy. Therapy can help. It doesn't have to be sitting around talking about your feelings. Therapy can be whatever you want it to be, whatever you need it to be. You can privately talk to someone if you feel like you're not dealing well with stress, or if you're having relationship issues, whatever you need. It's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better, because you deserve to be happy. And there's BetterHelp to help you better with this. It's a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It can be more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about and see if it's for you, because you are your greatest asset. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Giant Bombcast listeners can get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/bombcast. That's betterhelp.com/bombcast. Cereal, it's the best. That's it, hands down. End of discussion. Breakfast cereal is the best. But as you grow up, maybe it's full of sugar and a bunch of other stuff that you maybe shouldn't be eating on a regular basis. Perhaps you're out there trying to cut down on carbs and sugar and unhealthy food in general. And then, yeah, you know, maybe traditional breakfast cereal doesn't really fit the bill anymore. Everyone's trying to eat better, right? But hey, healthy breakfast doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't need to be a bunch of protein powders and weird stuff like that. You can get your protein the fun way with Magic Spoon, because Magic Spoon has all the amazing flavors you love, but without all that bad stuff. All right, what are we talking about? Let's break it down. Magic Spoon. It's got 0 grams of sugar, 13 or 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. It's only 140 calories per serving. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. Comes in a variety pack. You can get this variety pack. It's got varieties of flavors. It's not just like, hey, here's the same cereal every morning. You get to choose. The 4 flavors in the variety pack are cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. Comes in cereal boxes. You can take those cereal boxes. You can put them on top of your fridge where cereal boxes belong. Grab it down. Say, like, today's a peanut butter day. Peanut butter, that's a good one. Hey, maybe today's a frosted kind of day. Maybe you mix them together. Look, whatever you do, the variety pack is there for you. And now it is time for you to get your own. You can go to magicspoon.com/bomb to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use the promo code BOMB at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/bomb and use the code BOMB to save $5 off. And thanks to Magic Spoon for sponsoring the podcast.
All right, we are back, and now it is time for the news.
Oh, he did so well on the first one.
Dang it.
It's hard. The news is hard.
Talk
The
about
news
hard
is hard and gets you hard when it's breaking
Ooh.
like this.
Mm.
Hard news.
Break it to me.
Ouch. Ooh.
Give me that
Someone
news
paid
so I can
like
go to the New Jersey gas station.
okay,
Mm.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
Full circle.
So someone paid like $1.5 million for a sealed copy of Mario 64.
guilty as charged.
All
My
these Atlantic
bad.
City winnings from your beach weekend.
It's true.
This was a Heritage Auctions joint. They they put together a handful of auctions of sealed video game memorabilia. But they do a lot of stuff. But it's another kind of video game memorabilia auction of sealed copies of games. This was a WADA certified copy of the game that got a 9.8, which is a very high score for a sealed copy of a game.
What do you take off the 0.2? What are we talking about? A bit of sunburn.
Oh, it could be anything. No, I think that's way below a 9.8.
It's probably something about the way it was manufactured itself and not something about the condition. So it's like the shrink wrap is a little off center, or there's, because everything's going to be shrink wrapped a slightly different way. And if it's shrink wrapped in an unpleasing way, that might be a problem, or it's a little loose in the corner. Like, I don't know what they're looking for there.
Or
but
like the game's just
like
not as good. Like games have gotten
yeah.
better. It looks like shit. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This, it says value knocking. Is this game really worth $1.5 million? No, it's a
All-Stars
value
came out.
9.
yeah, exactly.
It's
not. Doesn't support Rumble. It's not.
the water temple's
Yeah.
no fun.
I get where you're going.
I've
you're
never
right.
played Mario 64, so to me, it's worth very little at all.
Really?
I think
Yeah.
I know what you're doing here.
Wow.
Okay.
It's
so how do they decide that like what I want to know is, where does this game come from?
Nintendo is a company that used to make like playing cards of a sort back in the 1800s, and then they eventually made like a love tester and a little handle grip thing that you could reach out and grab stuff. And then the electronic revolution came, and they started making video games.
And it's just this guy with the mustache. That's
Donkey Kong came out in July of 1981, and with it, Jumpman was born. Jumpman would later go on to be known as Mario. They would later feature him in
Mario's later.
Yes, yes, the 64th Mario game, Super Mario 64, came out in 1996, about 25 years ago.
Huh.
Jean-Luc, how old were you in 1996?
Yeah.
6? I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I did play that.
So-
I have played that game. Like
So are
had
you
friends,
someone
yeah.
where does your childhood game nostalgia start?
So,
Half-Life 2.
You talk. Oh,
I do remember actually like being in a GameStop and like my dad didn't play games, but he would like kind of keep up with that stuff. And he's like pointed to a box of Half-Life 2 and he's like, I heard this is the greatest game ever made. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like,
wow.
all right. Like,
Imagine your dad saying that. By the way,
Jason
in my
Campo
head,
told me this was
he-
the greatest game ever made.
In my head, also, like, you know, listeners to the podcast won't appreciate it, but I could see. Did you look up at your dad and he was Gordon Freeman? Because you guys, you know,
yeah, just
got the beard and the glasses.
but my
That's
my start with gaming was it was mostly PC and handhelds. I had like a Game Boy Color, I had Pokemon. I played like TIE Fighter. I remember I was like 4.
Okay.
I think I was garbage at it, but I remember like I was super into Star Wars, so I was like into it, and
It's hard.
that's why my parents bought it because they were like, Star Wars. He likes Star Wars. Play TIE
Yeah.
Fighter. Like, you don't know
You
what
gotta
to
do
do.
this.
We had a
Like,
joint.
yeah, I need to get the sickest tattoo I can get as I murder these people.
We
Yeah,
had the flight stick too, which was like, you know what, like, all right, like my dad knew what was up. Like he was like,
Nice.
all right, like we're gonna do it right, you know. But
That's so wild. Oh man.
So I'm trying. The reason I ask is I'm trying to figure out like what is okay, and this is like a fancy. This is not the way it went, I'm sure, but like I'm trying to envision a legitimate path through which someone decides, yes, I need to bid 1.3 million, which after fees comes to 1.56 million dollars.
Yeah.
Wow, some fees.
like,
Yeah,
you mean like I just like would have a personal nostalgia for it? where I
yeah,
would
exactly.
feel-
Like who's the person that is like
It's
so
Enter. It's an
nostalgic?
investor. It's an investor for sure. It's a
It
collector.
also
slash
then went on
investor.
to become some millionaire Bitcoin douchebag with
Yeah.
too much money to spend. That like that's the only legit path I can see for this,
Yeah.
but this doesn't line up. Nothing about this
You had
seems
a-
legit to
you had
me.
a copy, and then you're like your parents threw it away when you went to college, and like the dog ate the box, and you were devastated. And you're
Wait,
like,
I feel
Yeah.
like
one
we're
day I
asking
want
two
that
different
box
questions.
back.
I feel like we're asking two different questions. We're like my original one was like, where did this come from? Like that's
I don't
what
actually
just wanna
know.
Right?
I don't know
And-
where the copy was sourced from. I don't know who the original owner was. I don't know that Heritage actually discloses that.
Heritage just found it in their basement, in their parents' basement. They found
Right.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, like the people who do this, it is just, you know, we are also entering a very strange moment for planet Earth when it comes to like collectible and, you know, that kind of thing where like you see it in a lot of different facets of like toys, and people are in a zone right now where they want to feel good with the things they have in their home, and that is you know,
Or not, because like
multiply
even the
that by like
NFTs,
right, or, yeah, but that's actually not so far away from that same story, I think. But I also think like, you know, there's a lot like the human psyche, I think, has changed a lot in the last 2 years with like how we put value into these kinds of things. And I think in the most gross pornographic example of it, you have a unopened box of Mario 64 that goes for $1.5 million.
Yeah, and so a WATA graded 9.2 sold June 30th for $5,100. Another 9.2 sold in May for $4,100. So this price is not in line. Even if you think about the last 2 years for video game collectibles, and you think about how crazy a lot of this stuff has gotten, and it has been getting really crazy. Arcade machines, pinball machines,
Yes.
sealed games, a lot of the stuff, talking to other collectors, Steve Lynn and other folks like that. Like there's, you know, the idea is like, you know, the people who like it's speculative in a lot of ways. People thinking of like they're going to get in and they're not going to miss this the way they missed it with comic books. And thinking that like this is all going to just keep going up. But this, again, even with that in mind, even with the way these prices have been moving, there is no justification, no legit justification for a pristine copy of Mario 64 going for $1.5 million.
Sure.
And so what is the play here? And I've been on the Video Game History Foundation Discord for a while, and it's been some discussion there around this insanity and like just trying to piece together like what the fuck is going on. Is it money laundering? Is it did a group of people go out and buy a lot of other sealed copies of this, and they're trying to bring the overall price up so that they can dump them on the market to unsuspecting like what is the play? Because even that doesn't make sense.
No, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense too. It's a good story. It's like a good, fun Ocean's 11 ass fucking story.
Caper.
And the amount of capital you would need to come in with to corner the market on sealed Mario 64s is like,
and like that's what you're going after. Like that's
it's like you might as well knock over a fucking liquor store and use that money to invest in fucking some buy some fucking NFTs and scam people that way.
I mean, it does feel like an investment for sure. Like that, it is perceived value, and I think people are there. You are making a bet. Make no mistake, you are rolling the fucking dice. But I just don't believe that this is not done without that investment portion of it being considered for sure.
This is a bad investment. Like did someone lose a bet and they're like, bro, like did two crypto bros get fucked up and like bid each other up on a sealed copy of this because they were bored? Like that's the only thing. Like, that's the other thing that happened alongside all these price spikes is you have a lot of like young new money out there because people fucking hit it in a weird way on crypto or just did some dumb shit on the stock market.
Their parents are rich.
Or their parents are rich.
There's a lot of really wealthy.
Someone managed to make money on AMC, and someone managed to make money on GameStop, and they're like, you know what? The first game I bought at GameStop was Mario 64, and someone else had the same idea. And now here we are in a runoff bid.
Yeah.
Or there's some dirtbag kid whose dad owns shares in Halliburton. There's thousands
there's money. There's dumb money everywhere.
Rich.
Like there has to be more than one, right? Because like if all you need is one of them, then it goes for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. There has to be more than one of these people with no impulse control to bid it up that high, right?
Right. It's the jump that is the most suspicious, right? Like that is the thing. I think that's the
was there a close on it? Like, was there a closing, like a pay this and it doesn't go to auction price? Do we? Because that could have been the case as well.
I don't think there was a buy it now on it.
Reserve. There's no reserve on it.
Reserve.
No, I think the suspicious quote unquote fishiness around this is the exponential jump from the last one that was sold that orbited a similar rating, right? Like it wasn't.
And how long ago was that?
A month. The other thing that happened is so keep in mind also we've had other auctions of actually rare items, like very early printings of original Super Mario Brothers. There was we just got, it was like just last week, it was like they held the record for like a few days where a like first run or very limited run copy of the first Legend of Zelda went for like $870,000. But that's something that like a sealed copy of that is probably few and far between in a lot of ways. And it's almost certainly more rare, even if, we take the conditions into account here. It's a very nice condition, 9.8 rated Mario 64. It's still only 25 years old. Like there are more of those out there than these fucking, this run of Zelda that they only made for like 2 fucking months. Like that's
the thing. The rarity decides the market for it, right? So,
but not necessarily, because like that's like there is a level of people spending money on stupid stuff, which is about how much it costs. That's the point. Like, and
Yeah.
Super Mario 64 probably has more street cred than a lot of other retro games. Like, I was picking up mail at my mailbox place a couple of days ago, and a dude he said it was a new Oakland brand, but it had like some stuff written on the back of it, written in Mario 64 text. You think about like people who are our age who think about like what a cool game was. That probably, even some rare ass game, that probably has more of it. But like this is like the NFT thing, or like buying expensive sneakers. The whole point is that it costs a lot of money because then you get to fucking show it off.
Then you
Yeah,
get to
but I
wear it
do
around
think,
your
like-
neck at your fight when you're going to go fight Mayweather.
Yeah.
Spin it.
But there's gotta be like, if there's a bunch of 9.8 Mario 64s floating around out there,
there are not a bunch of 9 point. I mean, there
the
potentially
value will
are.
go down. Yeah, there potentially are, but like I assume if there are, this will make sure it shakes the tree and they will come, out of the woodwork. But like, I believe that is the thing, and I agree. Like, it does seem like it is inflated in a way that is.
How much you gonna
highly
give me for this
suspicious.
first run?
Oh my god!
Launch sealed.
Get it
$100.
rated, dude. Let's
1.2
follow
million.
the
What are we
process.
talking here? What are you going to give me? It's fucking Ocarina Collector's Edition,
Holy
gold
shit.
cart.
Is that the one
Fucking
before
launch
they
run.
patched
Dude.
the music?
This would be very first run.
Ooh.
Fucking Ocarina, like pretty
feel like
tight print on it.
you should get that rated.
That actually would
Yes,
be great.
I'm going to. I have a collection of things here. I need to get rated here. I'll break out the big guns here. Here's a very well sealed copy of Yoshi's Cookie for the NES.
I mean, I feel
Like
like
what-
that box has like $100,000 in it.
Yeah,
All right,
right.
this one's unsealed, but it's a copy of Fun School 2 for the Amiga 600.
I'll give you 85 cents for that, Danny.
It's the 6 to 8-year-old edition of Fun School 2. It's got
Why
7
the fuck
games
was
on
it
it.
so
Let's
fucked
go.
up?
It's
Let's
Frog
go.
Fractions.
What's that?
I got the only copy.
This
I
is-
got the only box copy of Frog Fractions, motherfuckers.
This
Prices.
is my sealed copy of Magical Chase for the TurboGrafx 16. It was only sold via mail order, and the last offer I got on it was about 13 grand.
Oh my god.
You keep
And I
it in
still
a
have it.
plastic bubble?
Jeff doesn't want this stuff to be expensive because then he's got no justification for holding on to it.
I want to get rid of all of it. I want to get it graded. So the original
Get it
thing,
graded, dude.
the thing I want to do, and I don't know that I'm going to have time to do it, so I might just go do it. Is I wanted to see if we could go out to WADA and like talk to them about their operation and how they grade stuff and all this other stuff, and bring games out there and be like, what about these? And pay them,
Where is that?
not for their. I don't know where they're located. Is it Las
What
Vegas or
country?
something like that?
Oh,
yeah,
wow, okay.
yeah. The country of Las Vegas, which I would not recommend going to right now. But yeah, like I'm
principality.
really fascinated by that whole operation, and I happen to have some sealed games that I want to get graded. And
The
so
PSA only does cards and comics. They don't do games, or they do?
they may have done games. So Wata is relatively recent in the grand scheme of things. There was another company that was doing it before, but I think Wata has risen to become kind of the standard these days. And they also grade prototypes. Like they actually will send them to the Video Game History Foundation for authentication and all that sort of stuff. And they will kind of authenticate a prototype and then seal it up for people that want to do that. And which I think is super awesome as well.
Denver.
Denver, okay, that's not that far. Not a great state to go to at the moment. But yeah, so I actually went through the process of looking at like, oh, how much would it cost me to get this graded? And they're, as a factor, I think of a lot of this fucking land rush around this stuff. VGA was the other one. Mr. Bad Guy 99 says that's right. Yes, they were doing this stuff. Their response times to grading stuff and sending it back have increased, I think, as a result of some of this, as well as COVID and all this other stuff. So they've got tiers of service now that, like, to get that Magical Chase graded, I think would probably cost me $500-$600. But like, again, for some of the offers that I have heard over the last couple of years that I almost took and then just never did for whatever reason. that stuff seems like it's only gone up. And then that copy, for as much as like a sealed copy of that doesn't turn up very often, the shrink wrap is a little tight and the box is dented in a little bit around it, so it's not going to get a 98.
8, maybe a 9.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe a 9. That'd be nice. But I don't know what their standards are. So yeah, a 9 would be great. 9 would be great. And then Ocarina now. I don't. But I guess my point is, I'll be really curious to see what happens when another high quality copy of Mario 64 turns up for auction.
Right.
Because there's just no fucking way it's going to go for over $1 million. That market doesn't exist. There's something else going on here, and we've got to get to the bottom of it. We've got to there's a scam. Someone is ripping someone off with somewhere with this, and I don't know what.
We need to get in on this.
Is it by virtue of them doing this, it is now generating a ton of press coverage, which is only going to fuel the mainstream interest in that's what those games go for. And so does it then
everyone wins
raise, then? Who wins?
Everyone who has video games.
I don't know how to follow the money here. I don't.
A high tide raises all ships.
Great. This Yoshi's Cookie starts at 1.2. Very tight shrink wrap.
Didn't a Mario 3 go for hundreds of thousands recently too?
Yeah, but that's an older game.
Right, yes,
it was probably a rare printing of it, and this is just some launch ass Mario 64. It's not. I guess everything's worth what people will pay for it, right? So there's always the case where you've just got two people that are weird rich, fucking Richard Branson in space, going I want to own one of those, and trying to fucking bid on it while he's up there.
It's just dick measuring, right? I guess.
Yeah. There's always the possibility that this is just legit, and you got some dumb motherfuckers out there. I don't, but it just, it's hard for me to envision this. There's something else at play here, and I don't think that the person who lost this auction is going to go bid another one up to $1 million. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't. You look at all the other sales of games, even from this particular set of auctions, because Heritage does stuff in batches. The other stuff wasn't going for outlandish sums of money. Even stuff that is theoretically more rare than a copy of launch ass fucking Mario 64, one of the most popular games of all time. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. It's fucking scary.
What's he saying?
I think Kohler is similarly on board with that. I think Cifaldi
is I don't regret buying it.
Yeah, right. Spent all my podcast money on it. What?
I just checked on eBay, and there is somebody trying to sell a copy of Mario 64 for $650,000.
Hopefully, not the same person.
yeah, right. Yeah. Yes. Also, Hates Dale points out at that same auction, a mint in box copy of Skyrim went for $300.
Wasn't there somebody who bought a 360 for 600 or something?
Yeah.
That's
600. Yeah,
it was, I have that.
A 360 copy of it?
Yeah, 360 copy. It's not even a good
sealed
version of that game.
Yeah, right.
It's better than the PlayStation one.
Yeah, and in some ways it's probably the definitive edition of this. But it's shit's weird, man. I don't know what to make of it, and I do not think that it's going to lead to me being able to cash in on that box of games in any ridiculous way. But again, if you got $1.5 million and you want to own your very own shrink wrap copy of Dr. Mario 64,
oh my god,
oh shit,
very pointy corners. Very pointy.
Some people like the pointy corners.
I know I was goofing
or
about this fun
this copy of Bonk 3.
Nobody wants that. I did have a recollection of there actually being some sort of frog-based math here.
Yeah,
Math maze. Guide the frog using the arrow keys along the stepping stones from the start in the top left of the screen down to the bottom right. When the frog meets one of the robot guards, they will ask a mathematical question. To pass by, the child has to give the right answer using the number keys. Jim Crawford needs to have a fucking talking to. I think he's got a lawsuit on his hands here.
Yep, that's well.
Again.
But they're gonna come get him.
Yeah, database educational software.
Database Educational Software is now the publisher of record for Topic Lords, the podcast. You heard it here first. They own it now, I think, legally.
It's the only podcast on the internet where they talk about topics.
Yeah,
it's pretty.
No, it's good. I like topics. I hate news stories though, but let's keep talking about those. PlayStation State of Play happened on Thursday. Handful of different things here. Deathloop was the focus. Moss Book 2 was announced, the sequel to Moss, which is cool. Sifu got pushed to early 2022. And Death Stranding Director's Cut was shown here. This was teased out a little bit back at the Jeff Keighley show. Before E3. The Summer Game Fest. That's what it is.
Keighley 3.
Yeah, Keighley 3. Death Stranding Director's Cut will come to PS5 on September 24th, and they're adding a package cannon to it. Where you can just launch parcels out into the world so you don't have to carry them all the way there yourself, which doesn't seem like a good way to keep them at like a 9.8 grading. But
taking your chances with that.
Right.
Just putting it out.
That's pretty good. I can imagine like getting, what were those baddies called? Whatever they were. Like they're coming at you and you're like trying to shoot these out of their area, maybe pick them up later. They get a bit damaged. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah. A robot buddy that'll follow behind you and do some stuff, and a few other additions. This led to Death Stranding creator Hideo Kojima getting onto Twitter and saying, you know what? I'm paraphrasing here. You know what? I don't think the term director's cut, it makes a lot of sense.
I mean,
great. We're all on the same page.
Like, yeah. I think...
Yeah.
Just even attaching the phrase director's cut to anything that dude is responsible for is just this dumbass thing to try and do.
Especially that game, which...
Right, yeah, that game...
Not having an editor.
Yeah, right. If someone could have showed up to be like, hey, could you trim a lot? Could we make this like a tight 9 hours?
That whole Beach Peach Mario, could we not...
We we don't think that's going to land.
No.
So yeah, he actually the quote from Twitter: "A director's cut in a movie is an additional edit to a shortened version that was either released reluctantly because the director did not have the right to edit it, or because the running time had to be shortened. In the game, it is not what was cut, but what was additionally produced that was included. So, in my opinion, I don't like to call director's cut."
Bonus.
Yeah, director's cut. Yes. Along with that phrase comes some sort of like, finally, my shit is out there, you know?
Yeah, it's like there's the 4 minutes of cursing and blood that they made me cut when Ed 209 fucking went into Dick Jones. We're putting that back in.
It works as a goof. It's maybe the funniest game to put director's cut on.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
Which is why we all laughed the way we did when we saw it. Yeah.
So knowing that he doesn't like it,
instead is to
better.
Yeah. His proposal is to instead use the term director's plus.
Okay.
You know
or
what?
director's dump.
No.
I mean, like it is just a dump, but all right.
The name director's cut is the director's cut of director's plus, which is
right.
Right. Ooh. It's a very meta.
Yeah, but it's a, I don't know, director's cut as a shorthand for there's some extra stuff here. Like I get, like from a marketing perspective, why you would do it, and better for them to do that than to try to call it Game of the Year edition, though.
Certainly, or The Last Strand.
Oh boy,
is that a Sony thing? Because Ghost of Tsushima is also called director's cut.
Potentially, I wonder if they're going to try and push this as an ongoing thing for their games, like instead of like, hey, we're putting out DLC, to refer to it as a director's cut, or maybe that's like a prestigious way for them to make their games sound when they bring them from PS4 to PS5 and don't want you to do that upgrade for free. Yeah,
Game of the Year does sound obnoxious.
Yeah. It sounds legacy as well. It sounds like this game was good before.
Right.
Like
yeah, but it really means like we packaged in the DLC and it's full price again, and and that was always something that like we need to put a box on shelves for Christmas.
Yeah.
So so let's call it Game of the Year edition. And
One of these
that's-
blogs give us Game of the Year. Yeah, we got one. Okay, good.
Yeah, we got one. All right, great.
Was that even the prerequisite? I'm not like.
There's got to be. I want to see a list of like games that went with Game of the Year edition that never actually won an external Game of the Year award. There's got to be at least a few, but yeah. Death Stranding.
Finally, an excuse to play it again. Let's go.
There's a small part of me that wants to see what they do with the controller, because they are bringing haptics to it and all that sort of stuff, and that is a game that is very much about your L2 and R2 triggers. I played most of my time with that game was me holding those triggers down all the way and just scooting down a mountain. Yeah. What if they got a different director to come in and cut it? Like if they're like, hey, we brought Zack Snyder in, he's going to make it 4x3 and also somehow make it shorter. I don't know. Like maybe there's something there. I don't want to play Death Stranding.
No,
period.
full stop. Yeah, full stop.
I never finished it, so I'm actually excited. I would like to at least play it all the way through once.
I was glad to have played it. Yeah, I think you.
I was glad
how far
to
did you
have.
get?
I didn't get that very far. I only got to like the second chapter, and I started to kind of get into more of the vehicle stuff, and I just kind of fell off of it. I wouldn't even say it was the game's fault. I just kind of do that with games sometimes. So I do
That's
want
about
to
where I
experience it, so I could say I have and form my own opinion.
That's about where I got with it, and then I saw the ending. And because other people were reviewing it, and I was talking to people about late game stuff in it, because I was already at a point where I was like, I'm not having a good time. If someone told me the ending and it was awesome, I would probably power through to see it. But then when that stuff started unfolding, I was like, I feel much better about walking away from this now, because I don't want to keep doing this.
My biggest part of that problem with that game is couldn't believe Norman Reedus. I just couldn't believe his face, his stupid face the whole time. He's like, what? He's like, I don't understand what the fuck is going on. Like, he just looks so confused the whole time.
I'm in my room drinking monsters, just pounding these monsters. And like, what the fuck's going on?
It's so weird. If you I could not break that away from my experience with that game, where he's just like, well, you want me to do what? Like, it just, that came through in the mocap. Like, it just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was like a dream, like you have when you watched a movie that Norman Reedus was in, and a movie that what's the Danish Mads Mikkelsen was in, and you were drinking some monster, and there was a copy of Metal Gear Solid on the table, and you'd had too many Advil, and you fell asleep, and then this fucking happened to you. Like it's not really well written. None of it makes any sense. You're kind of just like it's vaguely reminiscent of something. I was glad to have completed it. I've never played a game like it. I don't think it's good.
But there's nothing else like it. There's something I liked. I love to hit in that game. to paraphrase Hot Dad, I love to hit in Death Stranding. The Judgment series. And by series, I mean it's about to become a series, because Lost Judgment is coming out this fall. And the story going around is that might be it for the Judgment series. This is a weird story that is not officially sourced per se, but reading it sure does make a lot of sense with what I know about talent agencies in Japan. Takuya Kimura, who is the actor who played an ex-member of SMAP, who plays the lead role in the Judgment games, is represented by an agency called Johnny & Associates, or sometimes known as Johnny's, and they've become a pretty infamous apostrophe S.
I don't think you guys know what Johnnies are in Ireland, so I'll just leave it there.
Now I need to know. Rubber ding dong. They call dildos Johnnies?
No, not the
condoms.
Yeah, a pack of Johnnies, man. Go to your gas station and get a pack of Johnnies. Yeah.
All right, that actually tracks.
We went with Jimmy hats here in the States. I don't know.
Puritans.
Hip hop.
I know.
So Johnny's is pretty restrictive when it comes to its talent and what its talent can or can't do. This is one of the companies that would come up when you hear about talent agencies being super restrictive of their talent, like, hey, don't go blabbing about being in a relationship that makes you less sellable. Like, don't, keep your life clean. Fucking you get caught doing anything bad, we're fucking you over. Like, we own your likeness, we own you. And you hear stories like this pop up in the J-pop scene, just the music scene over there from time to time. SMAP famously was represented by this company for the longest time, and as Kotaku points out, all of the members of SMAP have left, I believe, except for Kimura. And so this report comes out of the Nikon Taishu, and then Kotaku fleshed it out a little bit as well. And it sounds like Johnny's is basically saying you can't put our boy on PC.
Huh.
And Sega is saying we need to put this game on PC in order to fully make money on it. If we can't do that as part of our plans, why would we do this at all? And Johnny's is like, you can't put our boy on PC. And that's the end of it. Again, none of this is officially sourced, so we don't have a why. We can only kind of infer that, like, hey, Johnny's has been very restrictive about where its talent appears. Japan traditionally has been, when it comes to the internet and things getting online and things being on a PC, they are thought of differently, whereas consoles are often thought of as a closed platform. You could see a situation where they're looking at something like the Keanu Reeves mods that showed up for Cyberpunk, or even Kotaku sites like the Elliot Page model that got ripped out of a David Cage game that featured nudity in it, and they may be looking at something like that and saying, like, you put it on PC, you're going to have, Conan O'Brien's going to be having sex with Kimura by the end of the week.
I mean,
if we let these models get ripped out of this game.
They're kind of too late. People have already ripped out his model and, like, put him in, like, other Yakuza games.
Yes, exactly. Like, the consoles are not as closed as they seem to think when it comes to this stuff, for sure. And so if that is their reason, and we don't quite know, but if that is their reason, they are wrong on multiple levels. So yeah, but there's this, if you get back into like Jazz Rack and a lot of Japanese music licensing and how backwards that has been for years and years and years, there's some great stories about Rock Band Japan, about some of the licensing involved in that product that never came to see the light of day. Which is where I got to hear another dose of, like, just how fucked up music licensing is in Japan. But, like, across the board, there's just a ton of examples of just Japan and music licensing and talent licensing and this sort of stuff being incredibly overprotective and incredibly backwards. And so Kotaku has this paragraph in their story about Johnny's. Some background. Johnny's is responsible for Japan's biggest boy bands and has traditionally been internet shy. As Music Times explains, Johnny and Associates had in the past refused to allow photos of its talents from press conferences to be published online, and has since kept all of its artists from using social media. Johnny's didn't open a YouTube channel until 2018.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah. So
sounds like
it's
Nintendo back in the GameSpot days for you.
Sounds like Nintendo back in right now days. And so, yeah, maybe cut from similar cloth. It sounds like F1 preventing us from putting the F1 logo on the F1 franchise page.
Jeez Louise.
What a nonsense thing that was. So, long story short, if these reports are to be believed, Sega is just kind of throwing up its hands and saying, I guess that's it for Judgment if we're going to lose our star. And if we can't put these games on PC, then we're not going to make any more of these games. If I were them, and Kimura is a big celebrity there. He's huge. He's been on TV for decades. Like SMAP is fucking massive forever. Fucking I own a SMAP CD around here somewhere. So I would say, like, I don't know that it stands for anything. I don't. It's SMAP is the name of the group. They put out music. They got to the point where they had their own variety show for a long, long time as well. I don't know if that's still a thing or not, but
Okay.
Yeah, they're huge.
No, it
huge.
does stand for something. Do you want to know what it
Okay.
is?
Yes.
Yep.
Sports music assemble people.
Fuck yes.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
According to Wikipedia.
Great. I love
Good.
it. That's yes.
Yeah.
I will assemble people for sports and music.
You have to.
It's like soccer chants, I think, is what they're referring to there. No, so fucking just replace him, right? I mean, I know he's a huge star, but if you're Sega, don't you just like take dude out of the game, cast someone else in that role?
Why is it such a problem?
They've done it before. I mean,
Yeah.
with the Last Judgment, you gotta imagine Sega is
Yeah.
just like, we need to stop getting big like actors in these roles, and like, who cares? Because
Yeah,
it just keeps burning them.
Or cross these bridges before you start making the game. You know, like find out for sure. And some of this is like Sega probably realizing, like maybe a little late, like, oh, people buy these on PC. Holy shit! Like Persona,
Oh, yeah,
did
I mean,
gangbusters business there. Like
that-
you know,
that's definitely a recent thing. I imagine, because I think like they experimented it with like Kiwami and like Zero,
yeah,
and it did like really, really well. And they were like, oh shit, we got to put the rest of these on PC. And I think that was probably around the time Judgment was like being made. So
yeah,
maybe it just
yeah.
wasn't a consideration for that game. And like now they're like, this is an important part of our business model. We
Yeah.
need to put these games on all these platforms.
Right. So and now they've hit this snag with the likeness rights, and yeah, I say, you know, you lose some of that star power, but I don't think that star power plays outside of Japan as well as they think. So you could recast that role and still sell internationally just fine. Which that's what I would do. But we'll see. Does this end up cutting off? Because they originally were like, hey, Judgment's going to be our kind of, you know, continuation for the kind of action style Yakuza games, so that Like a Dragon can kind of continue to grow in that direction and be its own weird thing, and that was going to be their approach going forward. But if this is going to kill it, you know, maybe they start something new and just write something else, or you know, maybe they kill this character off and put the third one on PC. I don't
Apparently,
even know.
Kimura really enjoys like the role. Like the talk article saying he got like really into it and like is an avid gamer and likes doing it. So like maybe he can find some sort of compromise between the
This
two
might be
parties.
leaning on them too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe this
Potentially,
helps.
but that I think yes, certainly. But given my understanding of those talent agency relationships, the talent doesn't get to do much leaning.
They hold all the cards.
Yeah, so it's you know, his level of fame probably does give him some wiggle room there, but who knows? It's a bummer either way, because that series has been well liked. A lot of people looking forward to that sequel, and those games did well on PC. So it's just crazy. You got to feel for Sega on some level for all the you're right. The first game, all the dumb shit they went through with that. It's just cocaine, people. Come on. Let's see. Sony put out a Twitter ad with an upside down PlayStation 5 in it.
Oh gosh.
You hate to see it. Do you? Nah.
It's great.
No, I don't
funny.
hate to see it. It's great.
I don't hate to
Great.
see it. It's so
It's the
this was
perfect thing.
this was a Twitter ad. Just showed an entertainment center. Some guy playing some God of War. And in the video, the PlayStation 5 was upside down on the shelf, much like Herman Holst did. He posted a shot of like his entertainment center, like, time to relax, or whatever it was, and it was upside down in there. And
That's
very
unforgivable,
quickly-
though. Come
Yeah,
on.
very
that
quickly, yeah.
I have a real tough time wrapping my head around.
An
the
ad firm
circumstances.
fucking this up, because you think about it, like, how many people on that ad shoot found a PlayStation
like
5
looking
and actually
at it.
owned a PlayStation 5?
They're like, what the fuck? They're like looking at it.
Arguably,
they're
the
like,
disk drive should be on the top. It's weird that it's kind of hidden.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
yeah, 'cause you're almost like, I don't feel comfortable putting it on the like all of its weight on that drive. It should probably be floating towards the top. That's a reasonable thing to do.
yeah. But Herman Holst certainly
Yeah,
running
what's
large
the
parts of
story
Sony
there? Yeah.
game
No
business, you'd think would know better.
shredding all his discs. Just
Yeah.
None of these games work. We gotta go digital.
I don't know what did we put out. What the hell?
They're-
Like, what are you guys doing over there?
Carving circles into them. I don't.
Yeah,
The wrong side as well.
So when he was called out on it, the photo got taken down and replaced with a cropped version that cropped the fucking PlayStation 5 out of it.
Same video.
It was like,
Just like
no. This video got pulled. The Herman Holst photo got yanked. But yes, imagine like doing a full ad shoot, spending all the money on that, and then being like, "Oops,
Killer.
no product expert was on set that day, and
Right.
none of us can afford a PS5, or none of us can find a PS5, so we've never used one before this photo shoot." So
I'm telling you, you give this thing to 100 people, and 95 of them lay it down the way you see it in that photo.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Because the bump part, I mean, presumably we're ditching the stand, right? Because there's no way anyone would be like,
because if you hand them the stand and
like
be like, "This is only for vertical. I don't use this.
Cool piece of plastic." I
only use this when I stand it up. Who does that? Yeah.
And because you look at it and you're like, oh, well, the part that doesn't have the drive seems to be more flat, so that makes sense. I don't want to weigh it on the drive. Sure.
Yeah.
They did the right thing.
Yeah. That's. I'll be
Probably-
curious
I bet
to see
it was
what.
remote, so like they never had any Sony people there because
Exactly.
it's something like that. Where just
Yeah, like no one.
Someone in chat just made a really funny comment that said, "I believe there are 100 PS5s even out there." That's all right. That's all right.
Well, congratulations to everyone on that ad shoot because they have one of them.
Yeah, seriously.
A lot of PS4 Pros out there, though. If you're in the Ukraine and you work for the spy agency, Ukraine's security service, according to Kotaku, they just came up on. Let's see here, 3,800 game consoles, PS4 Pros. From the looks of it, that were seized as part of busting a crypto mining operation that was running in a warehouse next door to the Vinistiablernergo Energy Distribution Company.
Yeah. That
That
just
Oh
sounds
my
like
God.
some. Yeah.
they did it. They put it beside so they wouldn't see them on the grids. They tried to like be so close. It's like having the weed sold beside the cops
Yes.
because they're not looking at you. Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Right. You
I knew
never
a guy
check.
who was
Yeah.
wanted by the cops, and he was hiding in an RV across the street from the police station for a long time. It worked.
It worked. That guy was me.
And I'm here to tell the tale. Let's see. So I don't know. This is a shady story Kotaku has here. That they're also saying that this mining operation was apparently running in a warehouse next to an energy company, and the agency, again, the SBU, which is Ukraine's security service, is also accusing this operation of stealing as much as $256,000 worth of power from the surrounding grid using special meters to hide the theft. And that they're like saying, man, we haven't ruled out that maybe the officials at the power company were involved in some of this. Power company is basically like, this is bullshit. No electricity got stolen. We'll let them figure out what happened, but that's not what happened. And then it goes on to, there's a lot of, there's a report or a quote here in the Kiev Post from the CEO of an organization known as Blockchain Ukraine, saying the SBU often abuses its power and seizes valuable equipment worth thousands of dollars without legal justification. The country doesn't have a state register of data centers used for crypto mining. Thus, many specialists work in shadow or move abroad to avoid raids. So the crypto industry in the Ukraine is like, oh, they're always stealing our shit. That's a lot of PS4 Pros, a console that is increasingly difficult to find now.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
I want to understand how this all works. Like, not that I have 4,000 PS4 Pros that I'm trying to rig. I just want to know how this works. Because, like, the photo, which is, well, let's just say it's not the best, seems to show, like, dozens of PS4 Pros with, like, ejected discs as well. and I'm just intrigued as to like why that is.
It's probably a factor of how they have
Keeping
hacked
it
the firmware on those
Yeah,
things
something like
to
that,
install what they need to install. So, you know, when those things shut down, they probably have to like turn them back on and just push the disk in, and it probably
Weird.
automatically boots what it needs to boot and then ejects the disk to let the people in the warehouse know this is booted properly and is complete.
Right. Oh,
So they don't have to hook it up to TVs and know what's going on.
Oh, I want to know what the game is. What
yeah,
game
that's
they
what I
get.
want to know. It's
They're
all the
bunch
Crew
of them.
2 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's probably a burned disc. I mean, I didn't get a good look at the disc, but it is probably a
Yeah.
burned disc with something on it. So yeah, I don't know. There are early firmware. I don't know what the hacking situation is on PS4 these days, but I do know there is some firmware below too much that you can get in there and hack it. So there is a way to do stuff on a PS4. But yeah, that's my guess as to how that would operate. It doesn't seem like a particularly efficient way to mine crypto, but
Yeah.
I guess you do what you can, especially if you're stealing power. Who cares?
Also seems like a very loud way to mine crypto.
Right. Yeah. You're probably in there with noise. Well, you're probably in there wearing ear muffs at that
Yeah.
point, right? Like,
It's like a gun range.
yeah. Ghostwire Tokyo has been delayed to 2022. So that's kind of the other. There's the Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo duopoly, I guess, as Microsoft owned games that are coming to PS5. We haven't heard about Ghostwire in a while, but now the update is yes, they're going to push it back a little bit for both PS5 and PC.
Just see like Phil Spencer lighting a cigar. He's just like, make sure those games never come out.
Someone did write in and ask, like, hey, what's stopping Microsoft from, you know, cutting resources to these games or you know, basically shipping bunk versions for PS5? And I imagine there's like good faith clauses in some of those contracts
Sure, absolutely.
require you to not deliberately fuck them over, especially if Sony is probably providing co-marketing money for these games as part of that exclusivity deal. It's in no one's best long-term interests for that, because I think about it this way. Deathloop coming out on PS5 and being an exclusive there, a console exclusive there for a full year, if that game is good, ideally ends up serving as a pretty good argument on the back part of that year for subscribing to Game Pass.
Exactly.
Because you're like, hey, this game you've been hearing about, it's here, and you can subscribe and get it for no additional money. Like, that's a pretty easy marketing campaign. It's not ideal.
Yeah,
you want it there day one, but like,
there can't be any good reason to sabotage that, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And our last story in the lighter side of news: Donkey Kong turns 40 this month.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
July 1981. July 9th, according to Wikipedia, for the Japanese release of Donkey Kong. It's the game that really started it all for Nintendo in a big way. It's just crazy to this is Donkey Kong is my Donkey Kong, and that's another one of those generational things of like, that's Donkey Kong Country Donkey Kong. I don't even know what that is. That's such a different thing from like
it's just some asshole.
Like that guy's just a dick.
Yeah.
And he's technically Donkey Kong Jr. all grown up, which is even crazier. I mean, I remember I have a book around here somewhere. There's like a coloring book, a Donkey Kong coloring book that was from before they called him Mario. You know, because he wasn't Mario until I think by the time Donkey Kong Jr. came out, or maybe it was just Mario Brothers that they finally gave him the name, but like that was just Jumpman, and you were saving Pauline, and you were like, Jumpman's got to jump and save Pauline, and that was all you knew. And so it's this coloring book where it's like, here's Jumpman climbing up a ladder, and you're like, yeah, Jumpman, I love that guy. And then the cartoon came out, and he was Mario by then. Like there was a Donkey Kong cartoon before all the Captain Lou Albano stuff. There was part of a block of video game cartoons. There was like Donkey Kong and Q*bert. And
a Q*bert cartoon. Jeez.
Yeah. And the Q*bert cartoon was weird because it was like 50s. It was like Coily the snake in a leather jacket.
It's like a noir.
And like they were trying
50s. Okay.
Yeah,
So
like
the
50s
diner?
like diner type shit. And so it was like weird. They did a 50s spin on Q*bert.
Weird.
Kids love that stuff.
Yeah, as someone who like you didn't, like I went to arcades and played video games, but like you saw video games in zero other contexts other than articles about how it was a fad or how it's destroying kids' minds.
Right.
And then, like the first tape I got as a kid, one of the first tapes I got as a kid was Pac-Man Fever. And that was like a full album of songs about video games. And then you saw this cartoon happen and all that other stuff. It was kind of awesome in a way. Like when they did a Dragon's Lair cartoon, which Dragon's Lair was already a cartoon.
That seems so redundant.
Yeah.
So when they would go out to commercial break, they would have Dirk the Daring there, and he'd be like, what's he gonna do? Should he go left or should he go straight? And then on the other end of the commercial break, it would show him going
straight.
left and getting fucking murdered. And then like he should have gone left, or whatever. And it was like their weird little nod to the game.
Did it look like crap then as well? Like was it not as well animated as the game?
Not nearly as well animated. Yeah, it's not some big lavish Don Bluth production. It was like, get fucking Ruby Spears on the phone, knock this shit out. Yeah, no, not nearly as good. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have much to say other than Donkey Kong is 40 years old, and that's a long time because I remember when Donkey Kong was relatively new on account of I was about 6 when that came out.
Wow.
And that's probably around the time I started going to arcades. Was around then, or like that and Donkey Kong Jr. were probably both out and all that other stuff. But yeah. And Congo Bongo, which I wanted to briefly talk about here because I need a platform to talk about Congo Bongo. So Sega put out their own game about a fucking evil ape called Congo Bongo. It was like this isometric, like the first level is the same basic concept. You got to climb to the top to get to where the monkey is.
You are kidding.
It's like this isometric, like much more graphically detailed. You're climbing up these blocks and there are monkeys in your way. And then as I was reading up on the Donkey Kong birthday today, I was reminded that both games were probably coded by the same company, an outfit called Ikegami Tsushinki, which is known for portable televisions, but also they coded original Donkey Kong for Nintendo and a handful of other games, including Congo Bongo. So it's this weird, like, oh, they made Sega's Donkey Kong ripoff as well as actual Donkey Kong.
That is amazing. The arcade version of this game looks awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you're your little safari dude, and you set the monkey's foot on fire at the end because he does it to you at the beginning, and it's this weird turnabout. It's Congo Bongo. It's a fantastic video game. That's all I had to say. It's a good game. Let me take a break. We'll come back. We got some of your emails here, and then we'll read those. So stay tuned. We'll be back.
This episode of the Giant Bombcast is brought to you in part by NordVPN. Hey, are you on the internet? Let's just assume for the moment you are. What are you doing on the internet? What's that? You aren't going to tell me? You're saying it's none of my business what you're up to online? You're saying privacy matters to you? Okay, fine, I get it. You want to stay secure. You want to maintain some privacy, and you want to feel just a little bit more anonymous. These are all great reasons to check out NordVPN. NordVPN's client installs on your PC, Mac, your phone. Heck, you can even integrate it at the router level and put your entire home behind a nice secure wall. The VPN, your traffic bounces through a relay and comes out the other end, making you appear like you're online from a different part of the world. Aside from being kind of awesome if you think about it, this can be useful for getting around those annoying geographic locks that prevent you from accessing the cool stuff you want to access. Shield yourself and your home IP without sacrificing speed via NordLynx, NordVPN's technology built around the extremely cool WireGuard protocol. Encrypting your traffic with NordVPN can also help keep you secure when connecting to random, nasty public Wi-Fi networks. The possibilities are endless, and it's all made easy with NordVPN. If you're ready to start locking down your online footprint and live in the shadows, then you're in luck. NordVPN has a deal for you, and here it is. Go to nordvpn.com/bombcast. That's nordvpn.com/bombcast, or use the code bombcast to get a 2-year plan plus a bonus gift with a huge discount.
All right, we are back. And for the final segment of the show, big surprise, it's emails. Giantbomb.com is where you can send your emails in to me, and I will read some of them and select even fewer of them. How about that for a guarantee? Start here. We have an email here from Jeff in Kitchener.
Jay?
Who says, with a J. Come on.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
an electronics developer. Yeah. I'm an electronics developer and thought I might be able to give some insight onto why Nintendo would decide to release the new OLED Switch instead of the rumored upgraded version. As you speculated on the last podcast, the biggest reason would be the parts shortage. There's an extremely long lead time right now for a lot of basic electronics parts. I've seen people desoldering microcontrollers from development boards just so they could have the part for a prototype. Jeez. A company the size of Nintendo would already have contacts directly with IC manufacturers for the parts on the current Switch and have a spot in the queue to receive the parts when they are ready at a cost already agreed upon. It is possible that Nintendo was using the same main board for the OLED version and just swapping the flash storage, which is just on a daughter board, and the LCD module, which uses a standard protocol called MIPI DSI, M-I-P-I DSI. I'm just going to say MIPI because that's more fun to say.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So the new LCD can have the same electrical characteristics and the physical pinout as the old one. It requires firmware changes because the data sent would be in a different format depending on the control IC on the LCD module itself. That is how the people looking at the firmware update were able to spot the new OLED version. As for the Ethernet on the docking station, they probably just use a simple USB to Ethernet chip since it looks like the new version is missing a USB port. For Nintendo to make the new rumored version, it would require an entirely new BOM bill of materials. This would require new negotiations for nearly every new part on the system at a time when there is major scarcity, giving the part manufacturers a lot more leverage over the price of the parts. My guess is that Nintendo may have planned originally on having the upgraded version release around now, but the cost to produce them would have been astronomical compared to normal times. That's a little insight.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
Yeah, because with the way, I've been reading up and watching a lot of stuff on chip shortage, and because I overheard friends of mine being like, COVID, right, and just like shrug emoji, right, and it's like, no, it's not that.
No,
it's not helping it, but it's not that exclusively. But I came across something where it was like manufacturers, or not manufacturers, but like, the Microsofts and the Samsungs of the world, basically like overpaying to prioritize their chip to be manufactured, chronologically quicker. It's so wild to me how kind of fucked this whole thing is, and how fucked it's going to be, and how long it's going to be fucked for. Like,
imagine realizing that our planet has finite resources. And there's too many of us. Oh no!
Did you play a little game called Call of Duty Black Ops 2?
I did.
Let's talk about rare earth minerals.
You mean the documentary? You mean the documentary?
Yes. Let's talk about rare earth minerals. So that, So is that a factor? So as you dig into it, because I think a lot of people do shrug and say, "Oh, it's COVID," but is it? If it's not just that, what actually is it? Is it just? Is it actual resources of the parts? Again, like, is it rare earth minerals? Can we not get enough fucking sand? Special sand? I don't, whatever.
The way I understand it, and Jeff, our friend Jeff, who wrote in, I'm sure has more insight to that. But the way I understand it, what I've read and watched, tells a story that it is the demand that has that has gone bonkers, and that a lot of these chip makers like Apple, Intel, Samsung, they outsource their chip actual silicon making to like this one company. I think it's called like TMCS or something like that. Yeah. And they just can't handle the load. And you just have like 18 months of insane, shocking, exponential demand for CPUs and microprocessors and chips and all this shit that go into everything. They go into cameras, refrigerators, cars, computers, GPUs, like everything.
More things than ever before. And it was like this perfect storm of shit that led to like insane demand and all this stuff. And they just can't keep up with it is like kind of the
and it's not something they can just scale up. They can't just like, fuck it, we'll bring more lines online overnight. They've got to build whole new facilities and they've got like, that's not
years.
Yeah.
It takes years to do. And apparently they're bringing, the thing I was watching said they were bringing maybe 1 or 2 factories to the US, like in Arizona or some shit. And they're like, yeah, you can't just like snap your fingers and you have a new factory. It takes years. It takes years to build a facility that can manufacture this stuff. So yeah, we're fucked.
All right. Well, okay. But then, okay. Why is a thing of Kleenex like $9?
Oh, that's
everything is crazy. Everything is like on top of that.
Yes, if like lumber
everything is going up in price,
crazy,
but people seem to have like some people, like enough people, seem to have the money to make it happen. So I, like the price of fucking wood.
Yes, lumber.
As someone who just had to replace a fence and a deck, the price of fucking wood is crazy.
And it's like spiking and valleying, right? Like it's going, it's like day by day almost.
And it's multiple things, right? So they had problems at hauling the stuff out. They had problems with extraction. Everyone was doing their house up during COVID. So there was 5 times more people doing that stuff. Construction boom at the moment because there's a housing shortage kind of like in a lot of the West at the moment, and house prices are just like house prices at the moment are like bananas, so people are building as well.
Around here it's especially crazier because the fires burned down a lot of homes, and so if you want to get work done, all the contractor resources are being sucked up by people rebuilding their houses from the fire.
Well, at least it is being sucked up. Is there like a law or something that they need to do them first? Or
no, it's just like that's where the money is. So if they've already committed to that work, and so we were able to get people in to do bathroom and all this other stuff, but like it took months and months and months of just because there's just so much work to go around for people in that line of work right now here, particularly because of the fires. But I imagine a lot of places that it's just. It's crazy across the board. And so Call of Duty Black Ops 2, I say, is the Death Stranding of its time in that it predicted all this with the rare earth minerals. So that was something that they tried to push pre-release, that it wasn't reflected in the game as much, if people have no idea what I'm talking about.
I didn't take that away at all.
So I went to Treyarch when that game was getting announced and had long discussions with people there about this potential rare earth mineral shortage, and then the conflicts that could erupt out of a rare earth mineral shortage between, say, China and the US, or just like different powers vying for control of the ability to make phones, and all of this other stuff. So like the backstory of Black Ops 2 that is not super well represented in game. Was in their mind, there was always this like global conflict around who controls those rare earth minerals, because they get to make the technology and they will have the more technologically outfitted army, and they will win the conflict on the battlefield. And they gave us this Peter Singer book at the thing that was actually really fascinating, but it was just like this future war fucking crazy thing about drone strikes and all this other nonsense. It was like a fascinating part of that I had never really dug into before, but also then the game came out and you're like, none of this made it to the screen.
Yeah, maybe that's like a director's cut.
If they had done a director's cut of Black Ops 2, then you would have seen some serious shit. And as people in the chat point out, it will not be a rare earth mineral war, it will be a water war.
But also
Water
it won't be a war, it'll be a
war.
it's corporations who have the power and not nation states. So it's the same thing that
Yes.
has happened to Africa for centuries at this stage. You know,
Yeah.
rare earth minerals, just marry it with extracting like jewels, with resource, or in the Middle East, it's just, you know, there have been wars that have like kicked off this stuff, but like so much, and especially where we are now, it's, you know, it's Nestle. It's Nestle trying to sell you
water. I
water.
was gonna say Nestle's army is gonna fucking be
Exactly.
like
Army of
fighting
lawyers.
to protect water. Yeah, army of lawyers. First, it'll be an army of lawyers, and then when the lawyers get put up against the wall, they're gonna have to have a fucking bigger fucking army.
These the dystopia jokes, right? Like, I feel like as time continues to go on in our lifetimes, they will become way less fun.
I can't. Yeah, like I can't joke about conspiracy theory shit anymore because of how the last 4 or 5 years have gone. Like all the funny fucking like chemtrails people and all that other dumb shit. Like it's just not fucking funny anymore. It's because you're just like, oh, fucking all those fucking people vote and they're dumb as shit.
Oh, it's like, oh, your uncle too. Okay.
No, look, if everyone can drink water, that's just communism. We can't allow that to happen.
You know, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You know
what else?
That's a good point.
It is a good point. You know what else is communism? You know, your turn signal. That's communism too, I think. You know, telling people which way you're going to turn.
That's my decision.
If you look at the red light, if you just would paint like a yellow hammer and sickle on that thing.
That's what it's telling you to do. Listen, I believe this to my core. I do think like COVID, right? It has become this accelerating force where like, I just don't know how long it's going to take to, like, when I hear about 2-year delays and 3-year delays and these, like, to me that is scary because I feel like it doesn't maybe impact you right now, but maybe it starts to impact you directly in a big way, 18 months, 2 years down the road, where it's like, oh fuck, like this thing that I reliably buy every 5 years I can't get and I need this thing, and that's scary. I thought, I thought like when COVID started, like it was going to be this great accelerator where it would like eliminate all of the, antiquated shit that like we've been dealing with, where like people would be like, oh, what are we even fucking doing this for? It's so clearly this is the way to do it. But like that in itself has its own problems that disrupt the worldwide flow of goods and whatnot. So fuck, man, what a time to be alive.
We're gonna have to wait so long for that television thing to come out. It's gonna.
That's
so
the
sad.
least of our fucking problems, dude.
Yeah. Anyway, great time to be having kids. Let's move on to the next email.
That's a joke that maybe I can laugh at.
Steve from Cincinnati writes in and says, last week you talked about Mario hockey likely not happening because of Mario on Mario violence. What struck me is how strange Nintendo's stance on stuff in general is. The primary example I can think of is just about any first-party games with online content. There's heavy moderation and multiple warnings. Meanwhile, the Switch store has about 20 new anime titty games every week. I don't know if these games have actual nudity. I bet they don't, but they're still way more risque than a Mario Maker brick dick. Do you have any insight into why Nintendo seems to be so clueless about this stuff?
It's a category on the store. You could filter by anime titty.
Filter by brick dick. That's what I'm doing. So I think in that case, the ESRB rates those games, and Nintendo doesn't have to be like, they can put the parental stuff, the parental controls in the system that prevent that stuff from surfacing if you so desire. So Nintendo is able to have that stuff in there and say, like, we've got systems in place to prevent kids from getting to this if you so choose. Yeah. But when it comes to putting a brick dick in a game that is rated E10 plus, that's a different situation for them, and that's why it's a different situation. And as we think about it more and more, like the Mario on Mario violence aspect of Mario hockey, maybe that doesn't hold water because of stuff like Smash Brothers and the stuff that's happening in a Mario Kart game. Like, there is contact. There is there is that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just that
Smash.
people don't like hockey. Maybe it's just that hockey's not cool.
Easy.
Is that it? Do you think that
easy.
I'm just saying, I'm just asking questions here. Do you think the problem is that hockey is bad?
See, you couldn't even say it without. You couldn't even keep a straight fucking face and say that. Like I bet you were like, I'm gonna say this and see what happens.
I'm gonna fuck up Bacalar this week.
That does fuck me up. Like that does break me. If you ever encounter me in person, that will break me. You can do whatever you want to me after you say something like that. No, it is not that. The hockey is very cool. It's the fastest game on earth. It's amazing. Action.
No, it's not. Highlight has her ass.
That's highlight.
Yeah.
No,
Highlight is the world's fastest game.
What are you
Fastest
putting
game,
highlight and ice hockey in the same category? In the same
Curling is
sentence?
faster.
I love
They're
how you're like
both on the way out. They're
whoa.
both games that, just like the kids aren't into them and they're going away. There's like,
That is
yesterday's
not
sports.
what's happening.
Highlight, bocce,
Bocce's dope. Okay, Bocce's an awesome
cornholing. It's all going away.
It's not going away. I mean, if anything, how do you keep a kid interested in fucking baseball without them falling asleep in the infield?
Like, I will grant you, baseball is, maybe not.
We got one.
Gonna make it.
It's not gonna make it. Baseball is not gonna make it. American football is not gonna make it. Scrambling everyone's brains and whatnot.
It's gonna be fucking slam ball, destruction derbies.
I mean, look, I realize hockey's a
Formula
contact dangerous sport. I'm not, the hockey does have its problems with that stuff too. No, they should do it. Everyone agrees with me. I think we could all agree. We could all agree that you like the inherent fun of a Mario hockey with its power-ups and its silly Mario nonsense that they would do. All the things they didn't do in Mario Golf, right? You put that into hockey. I mean, come on. It would be great. It would be.
I love a good
power
arcade style hockey game.
Yeah, I've been playing. I don't know what the hell it is on my main cabinet. I've been playing. It's basically NBA Jam, like the same aspect and the same visual style. It was like
3-on-3 open ice.
No,
I believe that game might be called.
Like Ron Hextall was on the cover or something like that. It was
Jesus.
It's 2-on-2 NHL. It's like the old.
Open ice challenge, is it?
Yeah, there it is. 2-on-2 open ice challenge. That game rules. It's got the turbo button just like NBA Jam, and they could figure it out. I know it would be great. Shit. I mean, how much else do you want me to just lay this one up for you? It's an empty. I pulled the goalie. It's an empty net. Just tap it in. Just tap it in, people.
Man, 2-on-2 open ice challenge looks rad.
It's dope, dude.
It's a midway game. Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. Open ice. Oh, it's so good. I don't know. I remember playing it in arcade. It wasn't everywhere, but the second I loaded it up on the main cabinet, it did a couple things with like the scoreboard and whatnot, and it really brought me back. It's fun.
Then Midway took another stab at that in 3D because they did that Wayne Gretzky game that was like a launch N64 game, and that was also in arcades, and it was like a polygonal take on that. That maybe wasn't as cool, but still pretty good.
Even the team selection stuff is like identical to Jam.
Oh yeah, dude, it's like carbon copy.
Maybe Bill Clinton in this one too.
I don't know. I'm sure there are like codes and stuff. I gotta look.
Michael Jordan's in this one, weirdly enough. I get a weird chip on my shoulder about the Bill Clinton stuff because that stuff was only in the console versions, and in my head, those aren't real, man. Like they put the Beastie Boys in those. That's not real. Mark Turmel. Now that's real. Let's see. Braden in Ontario writes in with a simple question: Diablo or Baldur's Gate?
I'm the wrong person for this one.
No.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't.
All right. I liked me some original Baldur's Gate back in the day, but Diablo is MF and Diablo. What are you gonna do?
Baldur's Gate doesn't really you have to know how to play like 3rd edition D&D to play it now, and it's I can't be fucking bothered.
Diablo, you just have to know how to click on stuff until it blows up. It's a good time. Well, let's see if you guys have any insight on this one. Mothman in Dubai writes in and says, how did people enjoy Street Fighter HD Remix? It had some ugly ass art coupled with awkward low frame animations, which look fine for older sprites. I don't remember anyone complaining when it came out. What was your reaction to it? Do you remember this? They did HD Remix. It was a version of Street Fighter of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, I believe.
PSP?
Or was it? No. It was Xbox. It was like Xbox Live Arcade.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I do.
And the Udon, the comic company, I believe, redrew all the sprites with a HD-fied take on them.
Now I remember this.
I agree. It is ugly as shit, man. I hated the way it looked so much, but they kept it frame accurate to the original game, which is why the animations look like they look, is because under the hood, it's just running the actual game. Same logic, same frames, all that other stuff. But yes,
Could you drop back to the old graphics in this one?
I don't remember. I mean, you probably could. I have to imagine you could, but I don't know off the top of my head if you could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but at the time, it was kind of the only thing. And at the time, I want to say it picked up some steam competitively because it was one of the only options you had to play that out at a tournament without bringing arcade boards or something like that. And they made some changes to it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, I feel like that was right when like Xbox Live Arcade was really just kind of starting to come into its own. So I don't think people were that picky at that stage, right? Was a Mortal Kombat had a bunch of versions, like MK3 and 2, I think, came out then, when they weren't the best versions of those either. But I was just delighted to be able to play them online and stuff.
And get achievements in Mortal Kombat games. It was neat.
I appreciate also like at least trying to do something different as opposed to just like add a smear filter on it and like, look, it's HD and it's vomit and you're like, so it's something.
Yeah. It's at the time I remember thinking these are ugly, but at least I can play Street Fighter here now.
With this terrible D-pad.
Right. With this terrible D-pad.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more here. Luke from Wales writes in. It says, so if you guys don't have kettles, talk me through how you make coffee at home. Thanks. I need this info for my brain to function again.
We don't. We drive to Starbucks.
Yeah.
Or you've got
Only
like
they know how.
Rare earth minerals used to make these macchiatos.
So is it like there's no coffee makers?
Are there no coffee makers in Wales? Do people make coffee with a kettle? Do they all do pour overs then? Is it like you...
Because I guess a kettle is just a coffee maker.
Filter?
The dirty answer to this is that a lot of people, and this may be generational, so maybe not this person, but a lot of people in the UK and Ireland would drink instant coffee. So they would boil the water in a kettle or in a water, you know what I mean? Either way. Right. And then you would just get some Nescafe or something and pour it on top of that. So there would be people who are like into the whole thing and have a pour over and do it that way. But like, and I'm sure people nowadays have like Nespressos and stuff, and you know, we're all killing the planet with those little pods. But like traditionally, when like my mom was having a coffee back home, it was always like some Nescafe instant stuff. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just have like a Mr. Coffee, like you have a little pot, and you pour the shit in the top, and coffee comes out the other end, and I
still don't know how to do that. Whenever I go to a hotel and I see that shit, I'm like, I have no fucking idea how this works.
You put the shit in you put the filter in the thing, you put the shit in the filter, and then you pour the water over the top of it, and then stick the thing in the thing.
It's just like a flux capacitor to you. You're just like,
I have no idea. I've tried. Like everything about it's weird because also like I hate making tea and stuff in a hotel room because you're using the bathroom water, which feels weird.
Like I don't like that.
Yeah. So I don't want to waste.
It's all the same faucets, man.
Yeah, but I don't need to be reminded that the water coming out of the kitchen and the shower is the same water that's going into my toilet bowl when I flush it. You know what I mean? Like I don't need
some of my shower water is maybe the best tasting water in the house.
Make coffee.
Why is it different than your other?
He just had it fixed.
Yeah, different pipes, baby.
Oh,
clean those pipes out.
New pipe. Yeah,
new pipes.
A new pipe taste. Yeah, there you go.
That new pipe taste.
They don't have that
David
thing
Sheffield.
they found in your pipe anymore. Or what did they find?
Yes, that was flux. Yes, when they took that out of the old pipe.
Oh no! Oh no.
It's all right. Pipes. David Sheffield writes in and says, "Fuck Danny."
Damn.
Was this?
Straight
Can
to the
I
point.
ask one question? Was this before or after the final?
This was sent
what's the
Friday
timestamp?
morning, 8:26 a.m.
I don't know. Okay.
on Friday the 9th. So
Probably really fucking hates me now then.
no. So okay. And then if he goes on,
I was
okay.
gonna
you
say,
really-
that was it.
I
Signed.
thought I was.
Yeah.
I thought I was just interpreted. Okay, sorry.
yeah, love you really, but not your narrow views on tea. He then goes on. Fuck PG tips. Fuck Tetley's. Fuck Typhoo. Yorkshire tea can stay, but the best tea is loose Earl Grey with some dried lavender, preferably with soft water. Shout out to Friday afternoon tea in Seattle.
Oh, okay. What?
Preferably with soft water. That's real specific.
Oh, well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's a very specific order there. You know, and you give people shit about
Yeah, I mean,
Typhoo, whatever the fuck that is.
Typhoo, yeah. Even Captain Picard just asks for Earl Grey. Doesn't belabor the point. Typhoo. I think Timur's a PG tips person. I think he's on decaf PG tips at the moment. We were chatting about it a few days ago. So he's a fan of that. Yeah.
All right.
Sure. I mean, people, you know, there's that's the thing. You can be anything in the world. You can be layers deeper than most people.
Yeah.
And tea is just
I
one of
get
those
it.
ones that
Oh,
most
yeah.
people are
Yeah,
just
and,
kinda-
and the more layers deep you get, the easier it is to get angry about people who've chosen the wrong layers.
Yes.
I get it.
Like I'm
Video
like that
games.
with beer. Like if someone offers me like a Bud Light now, I feel like they've literally hung like a Nazi flag on my driveway. Like it is.
Whoa.
It is like they've done the ultimate fucking disservice to me. It is like psychotically obscene and insulting.
Jeez,
And
I thought the Mario hockey was his nerve. Turns out it was
that
Bud
doesn't.
Light.
Yeah.
That just breaks me. This just leaves me.
What does that
bewildered.
say about me, a person? Oh, you know what? So when my wife was out of town, I was like, I'm gonna get some beers for the E3 time frame.
Oh,
And I
God.
picked up a
Okay.
3-pack of tall cans of Coors Light. I almost got a Bud Light, and then at the last minute decided the silver bullet was the way I wanted to go.
I thought you were going to say I almost got a buzz on after those three
Yeah.
gigantic beers. Because that's what the joke is. I mean,
Yeah.
hey man, drink whatever you want to drink. Like that's fine. I just don't understand. Like I could not physically drink it just because I've conditioned myself to not. You know,
He's an
So-
athlete.
it's just different now. Like I look,
So
I
then
get
are
it.
you
I've fallen down
These,
the beer.
are you
snob
one of these
hole.
fucking IPA guys then? Are you drinking
yeah.
room temperature fucking
No, what
like,
room temperature? What? No.
Are you
40
putting beer in the
degrees.
dishwasher
40
and
degrees.
heat it up and nice hot
What?
beer?
No, 40.
I don't know.
40
All you fucking
degrees.
IPA guys you got all these fucking weird shit all over the place. It's not just hey, drink the beer. It's like no, you got to do this and then do this and drink the beer.
Well,
and it
you
still
got to
tastes
roll
like
the
garbage.
can. You got to roll the can. It doesn't
Of
taste like
course, yeah.
Gotta
You
lick,
gotta roll
lick
the
the
can,
salt.
because there's
Man.
some sediment that collects at the bottom of the can.
Ah, delicious.
Mm,
Yes,
you know?
put some dirt in the
I mean,
bottom
look-
of my can.
That's
Unlike
how you
the
know
crisp,
it's good.
clean finish of a Bud Light.
Dude, Bud Light is just yellow water. It's just yellow
Yeah.
fizzy water. That's
here's
like
the thing, I don't like-
3%, You know,
I guess I
what?
don't like beer. So
Hmm.
for me,
Well, then that's a full stop. That's a deal breaker
Yeah.
right there.
I'll have some
Yeah.
Bud Light because I don't like beer.
'Cause that's
I'll
not
have
beer.
Coronas. I'll drink Coronas.
Honestly,
But
I'll say
Heineken is
this.
too much for me. I think Heineken tastes weird.
Heineken is fine. You know, like I think there's a certain core of trash tier beer, and to me,
Mhm.
that's like, I think that goes without saying. Like with the core trash tier, if you want to get a little bit more exotic outside of the core, like trash, I'd put Heineken outside that core. I'd put even Corona outside that core.
Yeah,
Because
too
in the
expensive, too
summer-
fancy.
Corona
Yeah.
with like a lime is actually, I think, kind of refreshing and very thirst quenching. I'm not going to go out and actively seek it. I need my beer to be horrifically caloric and just tons of like weird shit that's in it. And you know, that like that's just what I've been accustomed to drinking now. My friends and I, like, we just that's what we drink. We drink this stuff from, the local sort of spots, and it's a problem because now we have to like travel with it because we can't like go anywhere and be like, I'll pick up beer on the way. It's like, no, you can't do that. You got to bring the beer that we want to drink. It's the problem.
That's what people do with heroin.
I mean, it is, look, it is not heroin, but and people aren't really like, I guess, are they precious about heroin in a way that I am precious about IPAs?
This is the good skag. No, trust me. This other stuff, no. But I brought the
Look, you do not have to explain to me how insane it sounds from the outside looking in. Like, I get it. And if you think I'm deep into the rabbit hole, I have friends who will like ship beers across the country because they are in these trading circles. And these people are paying $30, $35, $40 for a 4-pack, and it's like, yeah.
Well, people just go like, I got in on this run of Pliny the Younger or whatever the fuck it is, and like,
dude, that's like your local as well.
Yeah, that's the thing is like Lagunitas is here, so
yeah. I mean, that's a very
this town is rotten.
After.
This town is rotten with that shit, and. Between this town being rotten with that shit and also the wine country runoff that we get here, I want to say that is a no small part as to why me and most of my friends, when I was about 20, just started drinking 40s and the worst possible, Sainide special brew. It was a special time in the low end alcohol market in the mid 90s, and
you're the counterculture. You're the Northern California beer snob counterculture. You're just smashing
I want to smash
Locos.
bottles in the street and crush Four Loko cans under the wheels of a car. Don't drink and drive. That's so. What is the lowest tier beer you will accept? Is it a Rolling Rock? Is it a Natty Ice? What are we? What are we? Where's the line for you now, and how often does it shift? I'm sorry, the show should end, but I just need to know now.
No, that's a fair question. I think the lowest tier I'll drink is like the Sierra Nevada Hazy IPA. Is like the lowest tier I'll drink.
Fucking la-di-da.
Sierras, God, I hate it so much.
It's not good. Like, I think maybe some like I could get some like Dogfish like 60-minute IPA out
God
here.
forbid.
Like, that's the lowest sort of tier. Like, if I'm at a bar and it's not like a craft place and I'm looking at the thing.
Dude,
I'm
how
just
do you
like,
go to hockey games?
I'm like dude, here in hockey games they have the craft beer there now.
That's why they've lost the common man, is because hockey went all hoity-toity.
You go to Citi Field, right, where the Mets play, and you can get like there's a brewery in the outfield. There's what's it called, McKellar. It's there. You could get amazing. That shit is all over here. Like, it's not a problem. You can get. I like to go to
Seattle, and when I'm in Seattle, I can find a case of Kokanee, which I think is a Canadian beer, and it sucks. It's great. It's just a regular ass beer,
and get $15 for a pint of Harp Lager.
I'll drink Shiner Bock. Shiner Bock's all right. I'll drink that.
All right.
And that's about it.
When I first moved here, it took a year for one of the barmaids in my local to let me know that it wasn't pronounced Lagunitas. But I'd been ordering for like almost a year, I think, before somebody corrected me. So
Lagunitas has a real like Final Fantasy villain kind of vibe to it that I like.
Look, someone asked me in chat, am I ever going to start
hams and I'm good.
Someone asked me in the chat if I got this way with keyboards. Am I going to get this way with beer and build and brew my own beer? And that's a big fat fucking no. Not happening. That seems like a process that is way beyond anything I want to get involved in. So,
do you think you will ever build a kegerator into an arcade cabinet?
Ooh.
That probably
Pinball
not.
Machine.
Okay. No, I'm not going to go there.
All right.
I mean, I'm going to get beer fridges for every room in the house, maybe, but the kegerator.
This is the IPA fridge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, for sure. We kind of already have a situation like
It's
that. In
set
my
to
house.
warm.
Yeah. Well, the new show coming out. It's set to 68 degrees.
Yeah.
You should go to the UK and have an actual ale, like a straight up pumped
I've
out.
had that. I've done it. I did the thing. It's fine. Look, this is what's happened with me and beer. I love
You should
it
get into Buckfast. If you want some imports that are hard to come by in the States.
You know what we'll do when we start traveling, when we start seeing each other IRL, I'm gonna ship out a bunch ahead of time, and we'll have a tasting, and we'll make it a whole thing. I did a few times on Basecast, and they were mostly happy with it.
Here's I'm gonna just guess. Here are my results from the taste test. Beer number one.
No.
It tastes like dirt.
Dude, you're the one slugging down like
Here's
Mountain Dew Monster orange flavor. Like, come on.
But all those taste clean. There's no sediment. There's no rasp. It's not a thick liquid. It's clean and clear, and it's a fluid, and it goes down. It's not even thick like milk. There's nothing. It's just.
The more
you're
opaque,
chugging it, man.
The better. The more opaque, the better.
Oh,
hell yeah!
God. I don't want to. It's just dirty fluids. All right.
No, it's just the best Jersey water there is. Needle free, syringe free,
needle free for the first time. Now needle free.
There's breweries everywhere. I know there's breweries all over the country, and the craft is a huge scene, and it's everywhere. You can't swing a dead cat without smacking it into 5 breweries in your neighborhood or something like that. But they're and there's some bad ones too. Like some of them are trash and they're not good. But we're spoiled here. We have a lot of really excellent stuff within 30 miles that is just lights out.
All right.
I'll take care of you guys. Don't worry. We'll do it right.
All right.
Danny,
here's beer number
intrigued.
2. Oh, it's like dirt.
Dude, there's like you can swing a cat and hit like 50 microbrewers. I went for a drive last night and found 2 more that I didn't know were in Lafayette.
Popped up overnight.
So it's
a lot of people
like
have a lot
that
of
dirty
drinking to
beer.
do these days. So
Plenty
we'll
of
let's get to it.
Yeah.
And that'll be it for us here. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. Got Grub Snacks coming up on Thursday. Very exciting. And then a new second episode of Born to Run is up on the site right now.
It is. It is up now. You can watch the highlights on YouTube. Highlights pretty long though. They're 20 minutes. So the full episode's like 70. Episode 3 will be up Monday. I'll have a quick look at Formula 1 2021, but I'm going to do it solo because I already have all that stuff hooked up to my seat. So I can't exactly move it. We'll have Guilty Treasures coming up pretty soon too as well with the one and only Jeff Gersman. So that'll be coming the week after next. Yeah, I know. Right?
All right. Cool. All right, everybody have a fantastic week. We'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. See ya.